Hello, welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to finally do the Miego timeline video that I've been meaning to do for so long. I love making these videos, but they also take a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of filming, a lot of editing. So I tend to procrastinate them, even though I do have fun with them because I love talking about these ships. Um, and I'm going to do Maddie and Diego from Every Which Way. Yay, we love them. Definitely one of the best Nickelodeon couples of all time, if not the best in my opinion. I know a lot of people might not agree because I feel like Every Which Way is more of an unpopular show, and I know a lot of people bring up Quinn and Logan, which they are probably my second favorite, honestly, because I love them, and I already did a relationship timeline video on them, so if you guys want to check that out, definitely do. Um, but yeah, this is the third one I'm doing so far. I did Tara and Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Quinn and Logan for Zoe 101, and I'm doing Maddie and Diego. I have more planned, but I've been procrastinating the other ones because these ones either were shorter series or the couple had a shorter time span. Like Buffy, yeah, it lasted 7 seasons, but Tara and Willow only really got each other for a couple seasons. So it was easier, so I didn't have to do as much work. So I'm kind of procrastinating a little bit when it comes to Piper and Leo from Charmed and Astrid and Hiccup from the How to Train Your Dragon universe because I'm not just doing the movies, I'm doing all the series, and that's a lot. So yeah, procrastinating with those two a little bit, but they will come eventually. And yeah, so on to Maddie and Diego because I've been so excited for this video and I know other people have been, so here we go. On to the first section. So, they meet in season one. They don't have that much stuff happen in season one because it's not related to season two that their entire storyline starts. So all of the first season is probably gonna be in one section because, like I said, there's not too much going on in season one when it comes to the two of them. But it starts out with Diego accidentally using his powers to destroy the volleyball. And Maddie immediately sees it and suspects that he's a witch. Because what else will he be? It's not like they know what kanais are yet. Diego barely even knows what that means. Um, Maddie wants to find out and recruits him to be before the principal or Emma does, because to her everything is a competition. At least in season one. I mean, she's kind of like that a lot throughout the show, but I definitely feel like it dies down a lot, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with Diego. But you'll see what I mean when I get further in the video. Um, Maddie goes over and introduces herself, saying it's nice to meet him. Whereas Diego said they've been classmates for 10 years, and Maddie tries to cover it, saying she knows who he is. She did not. Maddie asks Diego what kind of spell that was, and he looks confused and shocked at what she's talking about. So he decides to play dumb about it. Maddie tries to tell him they're the same, telling him she has powers too, but the way she says it makes him think that she's a kanai. And but when he brings that up, all it does is confuse Maddie because she doesn't know what that means. And but so she tells him that she's a witch, and Diego doesn't believe she's a witch, and Maddie doesn't understand. Um, but and they want the other one to prove that she's a witch, that he's a kanai. And but then Coach Julio shows up and takes him away. And Maddie tells the Panthers to keep an eye on him. I like that section was shorter than I thought. It's been a while since I did this, did the research for it. Um, so the principal told Maddie to have Diego with her. Um, Maddie greeted Diego, and Katie had to remind her his name, which becomes a running joke, I feel like, for at least a little bit in season one and the beginning of season two as well. Um, Maddie tries to get Diego to ask her to the dance. It does not go well. Says good luck finding a date instead. And Maddie walks up to Diego at his locker and he sighs. He's very annoyed with her. See, this is what I mean when I feel like there should have been more of a development with Benny and Dago at the beginning, because I feel like they did just kind of jump into the whole Dago has a crush on her all of a sudden in season 2. I'm like, how did we get there? He ends up going to dance with her, but he didn't even wanna, and now he's just in love with her. Like, where did I just want to know how we got to point A and point B. They are the best couple on the show, but they get sidelined a lot because they're not the main ship. You know, the main ship is the whole love triangle: Emma with Daniel, Emma with Jax, and the love triangle. Like, that's the main ship. But Maddie and Dago's more compelling. I will die on that hill. And there are some things that I wish we got more of, like they hint at Maddie and Dago finally dating, and then you see them dating. But I want to see Dago actually ask Maddie on a full date, and I want to see them have their first kiss, because we do get a first on-screen kiss, but it's obviously not their first kiss, because there is a scene earlier right after they start dating where they're about to kiss on the couch, but then Dago has to hide because the mom walks in, Maddie's mom, Ursula, who does not like him. And I just feel like there's so many scenes we skipped. Like, we didn't get to see their first kiss. We didn't get to see him tell her, like, ask her on a proper date. We didn't get to see a confession of the two of them actually saying, hey, you know what, I love you too. I just feel like there was some missing points that we should have got because they were the more compelling ship. And I know that's what you get for only caring about the side ship, but that's my little rant for the day. Back to my notes. Anyways, as you can see, Diego's a little annoyed with Maddie at this particular moment. Katie's said Dago was about to ask someone to go with him, pointing to Maddie. Dago asked who, and Maddie said, me, duh. And Dago was shocked, saying, you want to go to the dance with me? And more of a, like, rhetorical question, like, you want to go to dance with me? But she was like, I accept, because it's Maddie. He's so confused as she walks away. He tells her he can't go with her because she's a witch and he has to stay away from her, making Maddie mad. But see, this is another thing where I mean that they skipped. When I did my notes for this episode and was doing my research, this was the first time I had rewatched season 1 in probably a long time. Okay, I did not actually remember season 1 that much, because I'm not gonna lie with you when I say that I usually just skip to season 2 and the Maddie and Diego bits. Even though we did technically get crumbs in season 1, the crumbs in season 1 are okay, but season 2 is where it gets good. Not the storyline wise, and obviously for a Miego fan, it's where it's at, in my opinion. Season 2 is one of the best seasons. I will die on that hill. Especially for Miego. And I feel like, how did we go from Maddie tricking Diego to ask her, Diego saying that he can go with her, angering Maddie, and then to Diego going with Maddie? Like, I feel like we missed some points in the middle of that story, okay? Like, I know they're the side ship, but a lot of other shows have more respect for side ships. Let's just be real, okay? That's just, okay. End of second rant for the day. Let's see how many of these rants I'm going to get into during this video. Diego hands Maddie her purse. And he has to remind her that they came to the dance together. She told him to get her a drink, and he smiled as he did that. See, I still want to know how he got from point A to point B, because I don't know. But that's just me. Maddie goes to rescue Diego and stop the principal. And they do. They rescue Diego as well as Daniel. And Maddie is impressed when Diego freezes the principal. On to the next section. Diego goes to see Maddie, but Maddie's mom hates that he's here, and we're gonna get a lot of that in, especially season 2. But I feel like we do get some of her annoyance towards him in season 3. But she kind of just accepted that he's there, whether she likes it or not. But yeah. And in the conversation, Diego reveals that he's been there all summer. Dago wanted to surprise Maddie for when she shows up, and he created ice for her. Maddie comes down rhyming and wanting ice, and Dago was happy that Maddie actually came to see him. But she says she only did it because her mom made her. She gets so happy when she sees the ice, thinking that she did it, because I didn't mention this in the video, but at the end of season 1, she lost her powers, and she was rhyming kind of. She thinks she was rhyming, but it's Maddie, so let's just say she was rhyming. Sure, why not? Um, and so now she thinks that she made ice. Um, Dago tried to tell her the truth, but Katie stopped him. Katie convinces Dago to keep it a secret because of how happy Maddie is. Dago doesn't feel right lying to Maddie, because he's a good guy and he doesn't like lying to her. Um, but so later, Dago or Maddie shows up, and Sophie had to remind her his name. So Dago was happy that she remembered his name, even though she kind of didn't. um, and he ended up agreeing to play along. Um, it was funny because in the scene, Katie was like, uh, I know you like Maddie, and Dago was like, what? No, like, he was so not playing it cool, like, it was so obvious to literally everybody except for, like, Dago and Maddie, and isn't that how it always goes in these scenarios, like, everyone can see it except for them, though I think Dago does see it, like, he very much knows he likes Maddie, he just doesn't want to admit it to anybody else. He insists instead that he just misses Mac, who was like his best friend in season one, but Mac moved away, and I guess he was trying to convince her that he was just hanging out with Maddie because now he doesn't know what to do without Mac. Kind of a weak cover up, but sure, let's go with it. But as they're talking, Dago says the Kanai powers are different. He can't just make whatever Maddie wants appear. He can only do it with the elements are concerned. Um, As Maddie tries to use a spell to open her locker, Dago uses wind to open them. Sophie says she was glad Dago was helping, and Katie said it was easy as he likes Maddie. So I have this group chat, right, on Twitter of for Miego fans, okay? And me and this one girl who absolutely love Miego and always talk about it, right? We love talking about these little things and stuff. She's very excited for this Miego video, so I wanted to give her a shout out because I love talking to her about all things Miego and every which way because not enough people do. But we love talking about Katie and how Katie reacts in season 2 with a lot of the Miego stuff. Because one, we 110% believe that Katie was in love with Maddie. Okay? You're not convincing me otherwise. Because there's no reason to hate your best friend getting a boyfriend that bad. Just saying. Like, we fully believe that Katie was in love with Maddie. We also love to talk about the fact that Katie was prepared to murder Diego with, like, zero remorse, and it's just completely not talked about in the show or with fans. Like, how are we not talking about that Katie in season 2 was legit trying to get Diego killed? I'll get more into that when we actually get to that scene, but I just wanted to talk about how the fact that Katie was so jealous because of her love for Maddie that she was ready to kill this boy. How old are they? 15, 16? Like, that's actually insane. How did we not talk about this? How did the show, the Nickelodeon show, was like, yeah, let's do this? I don't even know if they realized what they were doing when they were writing that scene, but okay. Moving on. Diego hates lying to Maddie, but Katie said they're doing it for Maddie. Diego said he had things to do, but Katie said he'd rather be with Maddie. Diego tried to say it's not true, but started itching from lying again. This is all taking place at Maddie's house. But he thinks it's wrong. Maddie overhears everything, and she decides to get some revenge on them because that's a Maddie thing to do. It was a really funny scene. Like, she goes in there, she starts saying random things as Diego starts using his Kanai powers, like making like smoothie dump on Katie and stuff and making it rain only on Katie. Like, she was for sure trying to harass them right there, and it was actually hilarious. Like, they kind of had it coming for a lie to her, especially Katie because she's the mastermind behind all of this. But yeah, it was funny to watch. But they couldn't believe that she actually knew about their plan. And she was like, "Of course I knew there is a rope in the middle of my living room." And I think Maddie, like, she's not definitely not the smartest person because there's several times where she gets like a word wrong or something, and they're like, "Do you mean this?" And she's like, "Yeah, that." So she's not like smart, but she's not dumb either. She's smarter than people give her credit for. I think herself too, and reminds me a little bit on Teen Wolf when Lydia was like this pretty popular one, so she pretended to play dumb because she didn't want anyone to know. I mean, I don't think that Maddie's a genius like Lydia was, but I think it's something similar where she's like the pretty popular one. She's supposed to be seen as dumb. I think she's smarter than she wants to give credit for, and I definitely think Diego brings a lot of things out of her that I think are amazing sides of her. And one of them is her being not as dumb as she wanted to be seen. Like she was doing her own homework and stuff, which she never used to do. She would always have like Katie do it because Katie is known as smart. And yeah. Later on, the Panthers were talking, and Maddie tells them to get Proxy on the phone, and Katie was like, "Who? What's a proxy?" And Maddie reveals that Dago is Proxy because that's what she's calling him now. Katie asked why she called him Proxy, and she said they'll see. Katie and Sophie tell Diego that he'll follow them around and do the element-related spells for Maddie. Diego agreed, happy to spend so much time with Maddie. He's such a simp, and I'm here for it. Anyways, next section. Maddie wanted Diego to freeze her smoothie, but he was not fast enough for her. And she kept threatening to have Diego rain on Katie or Sophie. She was having a little too much fun terrorizing all of them. On to the next scene. Now, oh my gosh, I love this scene, okay? It is definitely, I am working on a top 20 Maddie and Diego moments, um, video, for after this is done. And this has to be somewhere on there because I love this scene. Okay. Diego Diego tries to tell Maddie in class that it's cool that her mom and Emma's dad are getting married, and she cuts him off. And he gets annoyed, and she ends up, because he doesn't think like she listens or whatever, and she ends up listing a bunch of things about him. It's such an iconic scene. Like she just starts listing like, you like Mr. Alonso, you like this, you like that, you miss Mac, and he kind of just stares at her, cuts her off, and it's like, you were listening, and uh and she gives him like such a genuine smile. I'm sorry, but this might be one of the first times she gave it a genuine smile this entire show, and I love that it was for Diego. Okay, like when I say that he brings out a side of her that I love, I'm not kidding. But I do like I was doing research while rewatching this time, so I was paying close attention to little things, and I swear that when they were looking at each other smiling, that her eyes flickered to his lips. Okay, maybe I was going crazy and seeing these I know that I wanted to see, but I swear that she legit looked at his lips, and I'm like, she already likes him so much, but he just she doesn't want to admit it. Okay, but then she breaks the moment because she doesn't like getting too vulnerable, and she was like, "Who likes cayenne pepper?" Or no, that's not what she said. She was like, "Who has a favorite condiment?" That was what she said. um, and then she wants a girl's mirror, forcing Diego to use his powers to get it for her, much to his disdain. Later on, Maddie wants Diego to steal someone's homework, as Sophie forgot hers, but Diego refuses, saying she should have done hers. Maddie gets mad at Diego, and Diego said his name is not Proxy, it's Diego. On Gigi's interview about the wedding, Maddie says she's only inviting her closest friends that are always there for her, causing Diego to smile. Diego tells her how sweet that was, and she kind of looked at him a little intrigued. Like, I don't think anyone ever, like, she was trained to, like, be rude to people by her mother. Like, you see that later on in certain scenes. And it's like, I think she kind of liked that somebody liked that she wasn't always mean. Like somebody brought out a better side to her. Um, Diego tells her he forgives her, and she laughs, saying it's her that needs to forgive him, and she doesn't. So she storms away, leaving Diego confused. Diego gave Maddie a smoothie and she said it was delicious. Diego was happy and Maddie smiled once again genuinely at him. He asked her if she forgave him and she said he's 20% forgives him. He got excited and said he'll get to 100%. Like, he is the blueprint to simping. Okay, there, I said it. Diego asks Katie and Sophie things Maddie likes, and they fight over what she loves and what she hates. And while I was watching the scene, I was like, certain things, like, I guess there's only one thing I can think of right now off the top of my head that I was like, Katie made a comment saying that she loves horror movies, and so it was like, no, she doesn't love horror movies, she likes rom-coms. I'm like, why did Katie think she liked horror movies? Like, I'm sorry, but she doesn't seem like a horror movie girl. So I don't understand where that came from. Katie should know her better than that, but okay. But then again, the entire scene was them fighting over, like, she likes this, no, she hates that, she likes this. She's allergic to this, no, she's allergic to this. And that was literally the entire scene, like, do they even know her? um, But Diego decided to give her everything that either girl said since they disagreed on pretty much everything. And so Maddie ended up telling him what she hated and what she loved out of the stuff. And Diego asks if she's forgiven, and she kind of gives this little smirk while acting like she's thinking about it. And it was just so cute, like the way she just kind of smirks and is like, she was having fun toying with him, okay? On to the next section. Maddie and Diego walk into class, and Maddie tells Katie and Sophie that he's sitting with them, making them mad. Maddie said they needed Diego's help, causing Katie and Sophie to object. Katie said she thought Maddie liked him and wanted him around. Maddie insisted that's not true, but needs his help. And all I have to say is she is really lying to herself right now. See, with the whole Katie telling Diego that he liked her and him insisting that it wasn't true, like, we could tell that he actually knew he liked her, he just didn't want them to know. With Maddie, she actually doesn't think she likes him. She was so, like, lying to herself right there. Ursula sees Diego and he tells her Maddie invited him over, even though she hated it. Katie and Sophie trick Diego to come to Maddie's house, so they can attack and tie Diego up. And Diego's reaction though was hilarious. Okay, he was like, "Ooh, is this a new Panther game?" Like he was such a Panther. Like he was. Oh my gosh, I love it. um, but Maddie shows up and sees it, and she stops them and says that now that he's here, they can walk to school together, and told him to wait outside. He was like, could you untie me first? And then she hands him his purse, hands him her purse, and he's like, okay. And then he kind of just hops away. Like, there's no bigger simp or yearner. Let's be real. Like, just talking about these scenes again, because it's been a while since I did this research because I've been procrastinating making this video. And, oh my gosh, I can't with him sometimes. He is such a lover boy. I love him. So Maddie tells them that they're gonna have to get used to Diego, and tells them that to just think of Diego as the fourth Panther, which they were not happy about. Then again, I think it was mostly Katie. I do not think Sophie cares that much. She's very much a follower. And even though Katie follows Maddie, I feel like they bump heads more because Katie does have more of her own voice. And her own ideas that she pitches in, even though Maddie doesn't like that for a while. But so I feel like Sophie will just literally do whatever either Maddie or Katie says. I do not think she actually cares that much that Diego's hanging around with Maddie. I think she cares because Katie cares. um Maddie asks Diego to trick Emma into casting a spell. Diego suggests inviting her over and talking things through. Maddie asks how to lure her over, and he said she's making his suggestions evil. Such a funny scene, by the way, because like he was literally, how about we do this? And she was like, how do I do it this way? And she was making all of his suggestions sound so creepy, and his comment about like why are you making all my suggestions sound evil is just top notch. She suggests kidnapping her book, and he says not to commit a crime and just do what the Panthers do. And Maddie comes up with a sleepover, and then calls her mother, which confused the heck out of Diego. Later on, Katie and Sophie warn Diego to stay away from Maddie, but they start getting freaked out when he starts transforming into a chair. At least they start thinking that wasn't actually the real Diego, and they kind of yell and run away. Um, Later on, Maddie shows up and he thanks her for coming, and she said, "Of course," which I know that's such a small thing, but I feel like for anyone else, Maddie would have been like made some excuse or something. But the way she just said, "Of course," like of course she's gonna come over for him, like it just proved that she was already feeling things for him, even though she didn't want to admit it. Um, but she tells him to breathe and calm down, and then she asks him if he ate onions, and he says he snacks on them at work, and but promises he won't anymore. But she manages to get him to calm down as he unmorphs from the chair. Later on, you see Diego and Maddie laughing at the seven as Diego tells her a story about Gigi, and he made her a sundae, which I thought was adorable. It was kind of like an unofficial date. On to the next section. Makes a comment about Diego hanging around Maddie all the time, and he says he doesn't. He said he thought she'd drive him crazy by now, and I love his response because this shows the proof of why Daniel's never good for Maddie, whereas Diego really is, because he says, "I thought she would have driven you crazy by now," and his response is, "Oh, she has, and I can't get enough of it." Like, that's what you need. Like, I love, like, I don't know if anyone here has watched Glee, but one thing but even though I love Santana, but I don't always like her actions. I know that can be a bit mixed opinions, but I love her relationship with Brittany, one of my favorite couples, if not my favorite, kind of neck and neck with Finchel. But I loved her in the proposal when she proposed to Brittany, and she says, I don't, some people love somebody because they make them a better person, but that's not why I love you, because you just always wanted me to be myself. And I love that, because Santana can be an awful person, and Brittany loves Santana for who she is. She doesn't try to change her, she doesn't try to get her to be a better person, which yes, your partner should make you a better person, which we see with Maddie. She does grow, and she does become a better person. There are so many scenes throughout season 2 that you can see that she's growing and changing, and a lot of it is because of Diego. But at the core, she's still herself. She still can be a jerk. She still can be selfish. She still cares so much about fashion. She still likes to have other people do stuff for her. But she's nicer about it. And I love it. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like subtle growths. Like, a lot of people talk about character redemptions, redemption arcs, somebody going from horrible person to an amazing person. Like, I love those arcs, I do. But I also love when you can see their subtle growth, where it's like, they're still the same person at the core. Because like a lot of these character developments, they're called character developments because they completely do a 180 from the beginning of the show to the end of the show. They're completely different people, almost. But with some characters like Maddie, she's still the same person from season 1 to season 4, but her growth is so subtle, it can be a blink and you miss it sort of thing. Like, you see her talking in season 4 about fashion or about one of her very many Maddie-like things, and be like, oh yeah, she's the same person in season 1. But you don't notice the little things she's doing that's different, which I'll bring up more when we get to some of those scenes in this video. But I love it because Diego's response was, "Oh, she has, and I can't get enough of it." Like, yes, he helps her be a better person. He gets her to say please and thank you when she wants people to do stuff instead of just ordering people around all the time. He got her to care about other people than just herself. But she's still very much herself, and he loves her for her. He fell in love with her for who she was, and even though he helped her grow a little bit, he didn't want to change her because that's who he fell in love with. And I know that's a lot of analyzing coming out of one tiny line, but I love that line because it just shows why Diego's the only person good enough for Maddie. Like, even if you wanted Maddie and Katie to get together, because I still believe Katie was in love with her, like, I don't think Katie would be good for Maddie. I think it would be just as bad as Daniel. Maybe not just as bad, because her and Daniel were kind of toxic. But and Maddie and Katie do have a friendship which would ground them a little bit better than Maddie and Daniel could have, but I still think Katie would have helped her be her worst person, Whereas Dago helps her be a better version of herself. Instead of just changing herself, she's a better version of who she is. And I love it. So there's my, I have no idea how many rants that is for today, but there's another rant for you. um, so moving on. Um, they end up crashing the sleepover, and Diego gets jealous of how much Daniel knows Maddie's house, and then he gets jealous about how much Daniel knows Maddie. I mean, like, I get it because he has a thing for Maddie and he's friends with her ex, but at the same time, like, Maddie and Daniel were dating. I think I don't remember if it said exactly how long, but I think they were dating for at least a couple years on and off. So I think it is mentioned in season 4 when Diego or not Diego Daniel forgot like some of his memory and thought him and Daniel were still dating, or Emma. I can't speak. Thought him and Maddie were still dating. Um, and he and I think because they asked Daniel how long he thinks he's been dating Maddie, and I think he gives an answer. Whether or not I put that in my notes is another question. So when we get there, I might have the answer to that because I don't actually remember what he said, but I'm pretty sure he said how long they've been dating, and I'm pretty sure he added on and off because they were a very much on again, off again couple. But like I said, I'm pretty sure it's been at least a couple years on and off. So like, of course he's gonna know her house because he went over there a lot. Of course he's gonna know a lot of things about her. He dated her for years. So, like, I get his jealousy, but at the same time, it's kind of funny because, of course, he's gonna know her. Like, he has been dating Maddie for a long time, and Dago hardly ever talked to her until recently, honestly, until that summer. So, just saying, throwing that out there. On to the next scene, which this episode that we're talking about now is one of my favorite episodes, and some of the scenes that are on this episode is gonna make it my top 20 Miego scenes, okay? This and one of the next episode I think I'm gonna be talking about. Maddie tells Dago about her mom because she found out that her mom actually stole her magic, and that she needs a conduit to transfer it back into Maddie. Dago said he's happy it's her doing it and not some evil person like the principal who tried to use him. She almost looked like she had an idea, but then she stopped. She was like, right. Dago takes her bag from, takes her bag from Dago and says she'll see him at lunch and waves as she leaves. Katie and Sophie suggest Dago being a conduit for Maddie, but he refuses. Like, I can't blame him. Maddie cries to Andy, saying, I actually like that scene because I feel like, of all people for Maddie to be vulnerable with, and Andy, who despises Maddie, was actually there for her when they needed it. Yeah, I kind of like their dynamic sometimes because I feel like they have very much a frenemies sort of thing sometimes. Like, they do not like each other at all, but I feel like when one of them needs it, the other one will be there. I feel like she would be there for Andy before she would be there for Emma, to be honest, and I'm not even kidding. um, but Maddie's telling her that she doesn't know who to trust or who she is, and Diego overhears her, and it makes him sad as he leaves. He almost walks in, but then he decides to leave. But like I said, I love that scene because not only was Andy there for her and Maddie was vulnerable with someone outside of Diego and the Panthers, but I also love what Andy says to her. She's like, "You are the one that makes people cry or whatever. You're Maddie Van Pelt, a horrible person." That's not actually how she puts it, but like something similar. And Maddie's like, "You're right, I am that person." And I just love how it was Andy of all people, because I think it does make sense because I think Andy and Maddie have known each other for a very long time. They just never liked each other. And I feel like Andy would know Maddie on some level, like not obviously as much as Diego, Daniel, the Panthers, or her mom, but I feel like she would know her on like a surface sort of level because obviously she doesn't know her deep down, but yeah. So I just really like that scene. But Diego helps get Katie and Sophie on Maddie's good side and offer to be her conduit, saying they found a way to do it without him turning to dust. So Katie and Sophie start wrapping Diego into plastic wrap. And Ursula's like, "I can't believe you're willing to do this." And he's like, "I'll do anything for Maddie." She's like, "Okay." And this is what I was talking about earlier on my rant about Katie, like, the whole plastic wrap thing was a lie. She just wanted to get rid of him. Like, this 15, 16-year-old girl was legit about to commit murder to get rid of her best friend's boyfriend. Like, explain what the writers were thinking. Like, on my group chat, we've talked about this scene and how insane it actually is. Cause what do you mean that she was legit ready to kill somebody because he liked her best friend, cause let's be real, she sees Maddie more than that. But like, what do you mean? She was about to commit murder. Like, I can't get over that scene. I can't get over that scene. It's insane. And I just feel like nobody ever talks about it. It's not addressed in the show, and I don't think any other fans outside of my little group chat has talked about it either. Like, how did we move on so fast from Katie trying to murder Diego on a Nickelodeon show? I don't know. Rant 2.0. Moving on. um, I absolutely love this scene. Maddie hesitates about using Diego, but Kate, she's scared that Diego's going to get her, but pretend it was her being scared of herself getting hurt. Because I love that. She was like, what if I get electrocuted or something? Like, she was so trying to convince herself and everyone around her that she did not have feelings for Diego. She was like so hard bent on not wanting to fall for Diego, but falling for Diego all the same. Um, Katie forces Maddie to take Diego's hand, and the power transfer starts. Maddie can tell Diego's getting hurt, so she lets go and insists that it's not working and that they're doing it wrong. I love it because once again she's trying to say, hey, this isn't about this isn't because she just didn't want to admit that she stopped it because she had feelings for Diego and she was afraid of him getting hurt and of losing him. But so she instead she tried to play it off as it's not working. You guys are doing it wrong. um, Diego thanks Maddie for not going through with it and that he knew she wouldn't. I love it. He has so much faith in her and believes she's like a good person despite everything. She starts off saying, well, and then she stops and says he doesn't know anything. She stopped because it wasn't working. He, understanding Maddie, just went along with it, and um, he said he'll find her the giant ball of scrap, and she wasn't sure about it, and he said if it's gone, he'll make one for her. She smiles, but then scuffs and walks away. Such a Maddie thing to do. But Diego does make the giant ball of scraps, which made Maddie very happy. Katie and Sophie try to take credit for it, but Diego says it was all him. And she was surprised that he would actually go through that trouble for him. Yeah, saying he would is one thing, but actually doing it, and he looked like a mess. Like, he went through some hell from last scene we saw him to do this for her. Like, when I say this boy simps, I mean this boy simps. Anyways, she smiles at him, and then they do the transfer, and it's successful. Diego runs to Maddie because she was all dazed and kind of like a little off balance, so he grabs her and catches her, and she uses her magic, and Diego is very happy for her. Then you see Maddie and Diego dance together. Maddie fails at magic, and Diego tells Maddie her powers are probably just rusty, making them all gasp. And then they all start yelling at him about his dancing. It's funny, I feel like Diego's not afraid to tell Maddie exactly how it is, and I feel like that's something she needs. Like, she needs somebody who's not afraid to say, hey, you know what? You're not being a nice person right now. Hey, you know what? Maybe you need to just hear the truth for once instead of everyone coddling you. And I love it, because Diego's definitely what Maddie needs. I lost where I'm at in my notes. Maddie tries to give Diego a rabbit ear. Diego says keep trying and suggests turning Katie and Sophie into koala bears. Maddie liked that idea, but they scream and run away. I love it because at first Dago was trying to be nice to the Panthers for Maddie, but now after the fact that they legit tried to, I don't think I ever noticed that until literally this moment. But like he was always trying to be nice to the Panthers, even when they tied him up, he was like, "Oh, is this a new Panthers game?" Like he was trying to be nice to them because he loved Maddie and Maddie was best friends with him. But this is the first time I can think of that he's kind of snarky with them, and it actually suggests, turning them into something else. And I can't help but think that the is because they tried to kill him a scene before this. Like that would make sense. I would be snarky with somebody too after they tried to commit murder on me. So Daniel's very valid for wanting them to be koala bears. Let's be real. Um, Later on, Dago tells Maddie to focus on. Oh, this is another scene I absolutely love. He tells her to focus on what she wants to create. Maddie creates a thunderstorm and causes Dago to jump. Maddie creates rain, and Dago looks proud as he turns the rain into snow. Maddie gets excited as she spins in the snow as Dago watches her with a smile. And the look she gives him in the scene is like makes me want a fangirl, okay? Like the way she looks at him with so much love and admiration. Like I'm sorry, but she never looked at anyone like that before, and I'm obsessed with the look she gave him. But that also did not make Katie and Sophie happy because they said that they can't compete with Snow because apparently this is a competition. And then again, I feel like Sophie's just kind of going along with Katie at this point. I don't think she cares that much, honestly. And more proof that Katie is in love with Maddie for all I care. Anyways, later on, Diego sees Maddie in a magical duel with Jax and immediately jumps in to help her using his powers. He grabs her arm and asks what happened and if Jax did that. Jax asked if Diego did that because they all got caught and got detention, by the way. I didn't add that in my notes. Maddie said it was her that did it. Um, and I love that so much. Like, she knows that witches don't like Kanais, and even though she's still not admitting that she has romantic feelings for him, at this point, she's basically admitting that she does like him and care about him. And like, she was legit trying to protect him in that scene because she said, that it was her that did it because she didn't want him to know that he's a Kanai because of how witches and wizards and everyone feels about Kanais. um, Dago realizes Jax is a wizard. Dago was so proud when he said he was the last living Kanai, and Maddie looked so proud of him when he said that too. But Jax, on the other hand, was disgusted that Maddie is friends with Dago and said but she said she'd pick Dago over Jax any day, and Dago was so happy, and Maddie smiled at him. He says, "You would?" And she's like, "Yes." Dago found it hard to believe because Jax is so good looking, and Maddie told him not to make her change her mind. He held his head low as they left. Like, I love their dynamic. But I do want to bring up one thing, and I don't know why this is a pet peeve of mine, but it is. I do not like that the show is calling male witches wizards. Wizards have wands. Male witches are called warlocks. Maybe that's just a issue I have, but it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm sorry, Jax is not a wizard, he's a warlock, and there is a difference because wizards have wands. Warlocks are like the male version of witches. They use their hands too. They create spells too, but they're called warlocks. I don't know if I'm the only one with this pet peeve, but it is a pet peeve of mine, so I thought I'd share it with y'all. Okay, this is the other episode I mentioned that I absolutely love. Maddie's face is purple, and Katie said Katie and Sophie help her try to fix it. Maddie freaks out when she sees Dago, and her face turns pink. Maddie doesn't want Dago to see her like this, so she runs off with Katie, while Dago sees her and tries to follow her, but Sophie blocks him, and he easily tricks her and runs after Maddie. Maddie goes home where Dago's waiting for her, so it makes me wonder, like, he ran right after her, so where did Maddie and Katie go? Because Dago ends up there first. And he just, what? Did Ursula let him in again? Or is he just there home alone? Because that would be a little creepy, like, who let him in? But we have seen Ursula let him in several times against her better judgment because Maddie wanted him there, so who knows? But he's there waiting for her, and her face turns like a reddish pinkish when she sees him. and she freaks out and turns away because she doesn't want him to see her face, and then um Sophie makes a comment about it's like a mood ring, and then Katie was like, "It is," and she starts going off saying the colors, like this color for this emotion, this color for this emotion, and Diego gets intrigued as he smiles, and it was more of a little smirk. He's like, "Really?" uh, Diego asks what color it turns when he's around, and she says none. And he says, "I knew it. You have feelings for me." And Maddie says she doesn't, and Diego just smiles as he leaves. And then when Katie's like, "He's gone," she says, "He is," and then she turns back around, all sad, and her face is blue, and then she gets even more sad because now her face is blue, because now she can't hide how she feels about him anymore. Like, her face says it all. Um, but then later on, Katie tries to use this as an excuse to keep Maddie away from Diego, and she said no, they need to fix her face. That was Maddie's way of saying, "I don't want to stay away from Diego, so fix my face so I can be around Diego." That's basically what she was saying. But that's just the way I interpreted it. um, and then later on, in a different scene, after all that mood ring stuff, um, Daniel says she's been different since she's been dating Diego. Maddie says they're not dating. Daniel says they're always together, get along really well, and care about each other, which is a relationship. Maddie defends and then later Maddie defends Emma and asks what's happening to her. She did not like that she defended Emma. Diego says it's the Diego effect and she should embrace it. Daniel asks Maddie if she's going to tell Diego they're officially a couple. Maddie says it's complicated because Katie's jealous and their bickering was fun at first, but now it's exhausting. Which sounds about right. In different clothes because this is a different day that I'm continuing filming, because this is gonna be probably a long video and it's gonna so I was filming it in sections. Okay. And so the episode, at least with this group, the episode starts with Maddie, Diego, and Sophie planning Katie's birthday. Um, and when they're talking about like the guests and stuff, Diego realizes that they need more friends, and Maddie and Gigi thought to write it down as a gift idea because that is not at all what he meant, but it's them, so of course that's how they took it. Diego grabs it and throws it away. Katie shows up, so they come up with excuses why they had to leave, and they rush off. and but of course Katie notices it because I think if I remember correctly, it missed the trash can, and then she picks it up, reads it, and it says Katie needs new friends, so that makes Katie very upset, and so she turns kind of goth in this episode. Later on, Maddie asks Diego how the guest list is coming. He says he has a few people. He says a few people will go if Maddie promises not to dump smoothies on them. Maddie asks how they can expect that. Diego just gives her a look and she agrees. And I love that. Like, most people, like, they would have to fight with Maddie and Maddie still wouldn't agree. Like, with Diego, all he has to do is give her a look and she's like, okay, fine. It's revealed that Diego threatened to quit the Sharks if they don't show up, which I find hilarious. All the girls are put under a spell to fall for Daniel, and Diego gets jealous and mad at him because now Maddie seems to want him. So, yeah. And then she makes a comment about coming here with Daniel, and then Diego's like, "No, you came here with me." And then Maddie brings up what Daniel said about when they were at during the storm when Maddie and Daniel were stuck at his house. It was also the episode that I mentioned earlier when Daniel was making comments about Maddie like kind of in a relationship with Diego, even if she doesn't want to admit it. And she brings up what he said about never having this much fun with her, and then Diego gets mad at Daniel saying, "You said that?" And he's like, "That's not what I meant." And then later, and then Diego's like, Maddie, I'm your date. But no one realizes that there's a spell right now. So, which you think he would like? Maddie doesn't act like this. um, but Maddie tells him to back off, and but Diego is just happy she said his real name. Diego said Maddie and Daniel are not, because Ursula shows up and Maddie says they're back together, and Diego comes in. She's like, Maddie and Daniel are not back together, and Ursula's like, usually I don't agree with. I don't remember how she phrased it, but she's like, usually I don't agree with, um, reusing. Whatever, and then she gives Diego kind of a dirty look. She's like, "This time I'm happy about it." Um, but one scene I love, and I feel like this shows just how much Maddie loves Diego, because this a literal spell is on them, okay? But somehow Diego was able to get through to Maddie and be like, made her look at him and be like, Katie is in trouble and needs you, okay? So Diego, with his love, was able to get to Maddie, and Maddie's not just love for Diego for her to stop and actually listen to him, but her love for Katie for wanting to go and find her. Like, that shows that Maddie's love for Diego and Katie is more powerful than this spell, and I love that. It's a little detail that is just never talked about. Like, everyone is fawning over him, and that's the point of the spell. That all they can focus on is Daniel. All they care about is Daniel. They don't have any other thoughts but Daniel. But Diego is able to get through to Maddie and convince her to go find Katie. Like, that has to mean something. That has to show how true their love really is. As they're leaving to go get Katie, Maddie grabs Sophie's hand and Diego grabs Maddie's. And then they get Katie. Maddie tells Katie what actually happened and talks about the surprise party. So Katie gets all happy and and they get ready to leave. Katie and Sophie leaves. Maddie stops and turns to Diego, who had stopped walking. She's like, "Are you coming?" He's like, "To watch you go gaga over Daniel? No thanks." And then she's like, I love the way she says this because she kind of said it all smug. She's like, I'm not gaga over Daniel. And then he's like, you're not? Then who are you gaga for? And then she shrugs and walks away. And he follows her saying, who are you gaga for? And then it shows like a montage of them all enjoying the party after the spell was broken and stuff. And then it shows Diego walking away as so that he can get away from everyone who doesn't know about his powers to create fireworks. And Maddie kind of watches him like she's curious about what he's doing. And then it shows them admiring the fireworks, and I love this scene. It's like a 2-minute clip, I swear. But Maddie's watching the fireworks, and Diego's just watching her. It is so beautiful. And this is like when they become canon, like at some point here, this is when they start dating. But this is what I'm talking about. The only issue I have with this show and this couple, because this couple is by far the best, I feel like they get the short end of the stick a lot because they're not the main couple, even though I will argue and say they're the best couple with the best story. And there's so much that could be fleshed out more. Like, they focus so much on Emma and Daniel's forbidden relationship because she's a witch, he's a human, they're not supposed to be together. But why was no one actually caring that Maddie was with Diego? Because everyone always like, why were you with this Kanai? He's a Kanai. And then Mia obviously had issues when she's introduced. She's like, why are you with this witch? She's a witch. But wait, are you telling me that the castle was so focused on? I get that she was the chosen one and stuff, but I just don't buy that no one besides Mia and Ursula had issues with this relationship. Because the whole point was that witches and Kanais are mortal enemies. So why did the council not care that Maddie got close to this Kanai? Like, you think they would intervene at least once, be like, you guys can't see each other, whatever. But that never happened. I feel like because they definitely have this forbidden vibe, because they always talk about how witches and Kanais are enemies, how they're not supposed to be together, and that's especially, I feel like you get more into that in season 3 because of Mia's introduction. So you get really into the fact that they aren't supposed to be together, but that was all because of Mia and Diego learning more about Kanais and their history. And it's like, what are you telling me, that these witches councils don't actually care? Like, you see them make disgusting remark about Kanai throughout season 2, but they're so focused on Emma and Daniel that they don't care that Maddie is with a Kanai when they're supposed to absolutely hate Kanais. I just feel like they could have gone so much more in depth with this forbidden relationship and try to tear these two apart like they did with Emma and Daniel, because they were kind of in the same boat. Emma and Daniel, even though I don't care about them as a couple, I prefer Emma with Jax, but Emma and Daniel loved each other and wanted to be together, but the council kept trying to rip them apart, and I just don't see them not doing that with Maddie and Dago as well. Maybe that's just me, but I just feel like they could have gone so much more in depth. Like, I feel like that could have been such a cool story for Maddie and Emma to bond too. Like, they have their moments of like, I don't even want to say bonds. I feel like they never have like truly bond, but I feel like they do become less enemies as the show goes on. Even sort of friends, give or take the time or whatever. But I feel like that could have been such a cool thing for them to start bonding over. The fact that the council wants Emma to be away from Daniel and Maddie to be away from Dago, so the two of them bond over not being able to be with the people they love. That could have been such a cool story if the writers actually thought about that, because I just feel like Maddie and Dago's forbidden arc could have been so much more delved into, because they were technically supposed to be together. But in season 2, the only person that cared about it was Ursula, and in season 3, she still didn't care for it. She doesn't actually really come around to season 4, but she stops doing anything about it in season 3. She kind of just accepted it, even though she didn't like it. And then in season 4 is when she actually started liking it because of a scene I'll talk to when I get there. But and then Mia in season 3 became their biggest obstacle. Like in season 2 it was Ursula, and season 3 was Mia, and then season 4, I don't really think they have an obstacle unless you want to count that memory spell with Daniel. But like I said, I'll get into all that when we get to those sections. But yeah, and I feel like there's just like, we don't actually see their first on-screen kiss. We don't actually see them actually having the conversation, be like, I like you too, let's start dating. Like, this is the fireworks scene, is the scene that they actually start dating, even though we don't see a verbal conversation, we don't see them kiss. It's just in the next episode, which I'm about to get into, obviously, they are dating now. So something happened during this fireworks scene that we never actually got to see. I don't know if they ever filmed it or planned to and just never released footage, because if they did, I want to see the footage. I doubt that, though. I don't think they ever even filmed it or thought about adding it into the script. But I just think that there were so many parts in the relationship that was missing. Like, I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video about how we kind of just skipped to Dago being annoyed with Maddie in season 1, and then all of a sudden, I just feel like there's so many. The show. I get that Emma was the main character, but so many other shows were able to truly show the side characters and their relationships just as much as the main. But I feel like that's one thing the show did not do, because even in season 1, it didn't show how Maddie and Dago ended up agreeing to go to the dance together, because Maddie asked Dago was like, nah, not happening, and then all of a sudden they're at the dance together. We are missing a scene in the middle of that. And then, all of a sudden, you find out during that entire summer, Dago's hanging out at Maddie's house because he had fallen so hard for her, even though she can barely remember his name. And I'm like, we're missing a few steps here. How did we get from Dago barely being able to tolerate her to him fawning over her? We're missing some scenes in the middle of that, okay? Like, what actually happened to make him fall for her? Like, why did he actually start liking her? Because we never actually got clarification for that. And then, like I said, no talk about, hey, I like you too, let's start dating. Just Dago staring at Maddie during fireworks, then boom, they're dating. And then we also never see their first on-screen kiss, because as I'm about to get into it in a minute, when you see them in the next episode, they're about to kiss, which means they had already had their first kiss. The only reason why they didn't kiss then was because they got interrupted. They get interrupted a couple times, I feel like, before you see their first on-screen kiss. But their first on-screen kiss obviously wasn't their first actual kiss. Why didn't we get their first actual kiss? I want their first actual kiss. So there's my little rant. I did not mean to go into this huge rant, but it's just one thing that really irritates me about the show. As much as I love the show, as much as I love the ship, it's the one thing that I feel like the show failed at that they should have done more better at when it comes to side characters. I get that Emma's the main character, but like so many other shows have the main character, but then also was able to truly delve into the side characters and their relationships. And I feel like the show didn't always, which irritates me because my favorite part of the show is Maddie and Dago. Actually, you may not be this surprised, but do you know how many times when I decided to rewatch the show, I watch Maddie and Dago centered episodes? Because even though I like the show, Maddie and Dago are my favorite part of the show. So, yeah, just saying. And on to the next section. Maddie and Dago walk inside Maddie's house laughing. Ursula calls Dago Maddie's friend, which makes him happy that he even acknowledged him, I guess. I don't know. Because it was funny. He was like, "Do you just call me Maddie's friend?" And then he starts smiling like he's all happy about it. I'm like, "Seriously, boy? Like, this boy has no chill, but I love him anyways." Honestly, he's probably my favorite character, not gonna lie. Anyways. Maddie tells Diego to make her a shake or a smoothie, and then Diego gives her a look, and she says please, and he's like okay, and then this upsets Ursula. Um, and like I said, I love that. I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, but they have this thing where it's like I love character developments where like don't get me wrong, I love a redemption arc like Zuko and After Last Airbender, or characters that were terrible but become actually really good people, okay? But what I love even more is these subtle developments where it's like they're still the same person, but they're a better version of themselves. Like Maddie. Like was she a mean person? Yes. Could she still be a mean person in season 4? Also yes. But she was just a better version of herself. She was nicer, even though she still had the same vibe to herself. And I love that. It's like she didn't just completely change because she's with Diego. And it reminds me of the scene. Like I said, sorry if I'm repeating myself. I started filming this video like 2 weeks ago, and I'm only now refilming, so I may have already used this parallel, but on Glee with when Santana proposed to Brittany, I love what she says because she says most people love somebody because they made them a better person, but that's not why I love you because you always just wanted me to be myself. And I feel like it's the same way. Yes, Dago knows that Maddie can be nicer and not a horrible person, but he doesn't want her to flat out change because this is the person he fell in love with. And I love it. Um, And so Ursula orders Maddie to never see Diego again, which makes her mad. Um, Later with Andy, Maddie says nerdler, causing Diego to nudge her. And Andy asks if they're dating, and they get nervous and they run off. And then later you see Diego sneaks into Maddie's window, causing her to grin and blush and wave at him. I just love this. Like, I'm sorry, but you don't. I love the idea of the like mean, cold-hearted or seemingly cold-hearted person who just gets giddy for that. Like, okay, I feel like if we're talking about like some people are like, oh, this ship is a variant of this ship. Okay, rewatching this, I realized that there were some similarities, like small similarities with Amber and Simone on Soy Luna, and they have like become one of my all-time favorite ships. I'm obsessed with them, okay? If you are on my Twitter multi-fandom account, you would see they're often my profile picture, and even when I'm talking about other ships, I always manage to talk about Simone and Amber constantly as well because I am obsessed. Um, and it was the same thing. Like Amber was this cool girl, right? Nobody ever makes her all giddy. Nobody ever makes her blush. Like she's too cool for all that, right? Even with other relationships you see before and after Simone, right? Like when she was with Benicio, she wasn't like that. When she was with Mateo, she wasn't like that. Just like that one guy in season 1 that liked her. I don't remember his name, but he ends up having a thing for Luna in season 3 because he's only on like 2 different times. I don't remember his name, but he was like an influencer or something. And but then when she's with Simone, there are so many scenes where she gets so happy, so giddy, and blushes. And I'm like, only Simone has that effect on on Emma, or bleh. I'm getting every which way, and so I'm confused now. I mean Amber, and I love that. And I feel like it's the same way. Like Maddie's this cool girl, right? Nobody makes her all giddy. She wasn't even giddy for Daniel, okay? But then with Diego, she gets all giddy and happy and blushy, and I just love that side of her that only Diego can bring out. Let's be real. Like this scene is like 2 seconds, but it's so adorable because Diego looks at her through the window, and she's just like playing with her hair. She's like the cool girl facade just completely left her for 2 seconds, and she gets all blushy and grinny, and she's wavy. Like she gets so happy to see him, and I love that side of her. I love the idea of this cool, possibly mean-spirited, cold-hearted person who gets all soft and giddy and happy with that one person, the only person that can actually bring it out in them. And Amber and Simone is the exact same way. So yeah. So if you like, yeah, I hit my microphone. So if you like, the room just got very bright, and I have no idea what happened. But so if you like Maddie and Diego from Every Which Way, definitely check out Amber and Simone because there are some similarities here and there. And okay, I think the lighting is dimming. I don't know what happened. Okay, I fixed it. I don't know what that was, but let's move on. Um, okay. Ursula shows up, so Diego hid. But he calls like bushes to rustle or something, and Ursula hears that, and Maddie convinces her it was a skunk outside, and Ursula's like, "Great, I'm gonna pelt it with my hair curlers," and then Maddie's like, "Wait, no!" and she runs after her. It was hilarious. But then later on, they're explaining what happened to Katie and Sophie, and Maddie says Diego's her hero, and he smiles at her. Later on, you see them at lunch. Ursula video chats Maddie and sees Diego sitting next to her. But they convince each other that they convince her that it wasn't Diego, and then Maddie hangs up on her mom. um, Maddie and Diego look lovingly at each other before Kitty shows up. Maddie tells Diego to do something, and Andy asks him whose side he's on, and he said he doesn't know. It was a funny scene because like everyone was fighting. It was the episode with what's his name? The zombie boy, um, Philip. Okay, I was about to call him Philip, but I was like, wait a minute, am I wrong? I'm like, no, I'm not wrong. That is his name, Philip. And like, so they're all fighting about what to do with Philip, the zombie boy. Like, do we whatever? And so obviously Diego's friends with these people. He's friends with Andy and Daniel and Emma, but then he's also became friends with Maddie's friends as well as dating Maddie now. So he's like all torn apart because he's like, I don't know whose side to be on. It is hilarious. Like he's always split, I feel like at times, because Maddie and Emma might become alliances every so often when they meet each other. But for the most part, they're not friends. I mean, at this point, I don't think they're flat out enemies anymore like they were in season one. But I don't even know if I would call them frenemies. I guess so. I see them more as alliances because they help each other if they really need to, but it's not like they would ever hang out. But there's so many instances because of their witchy stuff, their witchy life coming in, that they're kind of forced to help each other and be in the same group even though they don't even really like each other. And then there's Dago, who's generally friends with Emma and Daniel and Andy and all of them, but now he's dating Maddie and kind of friends with Kitty and Sophie at this point. So it's like he's just stuck in the middle of their bickering all the time. But I think that only happens for a short while. I feel like that's not so much the cause anymore in Well, I know that's not the cause anymore in season 4. In season 3, I feel like he's torn apart, but for a different reason. Because of the whole forbidden thing I mentioned, and he was like stuck in the middle of Mia, who he befriended because she's the only other Kanai he knows exists, and learning more about Kanai history. But then there's Maddie, who's his girlfriend. So, and then Mia also hates Emma, who is Diego's friend, so then he's caught in the middle that way. So seasons 2 and 3, he's just stuck in the middle. I feel so bad for him. Um. Okay. So later on, you see Diego sneaks into Maddie's house. Diego says he hates sneaking around. Maddie says she thinks it's romantic, at making Diego get all flirty. Maddie says they work, making Diego so happy that she thought they work. Diego And then later on, Dago shows Maddie a new power, and Maddie loved it, calling it her cosmic trash can, which that comes into very big play in later in the season. It actually revolves around one of my absolute favorite Miego scenes of all time. Maddie gets concerned when it drains him. Maddie talks about throwing Emma, Annie, and Jackson there, and Dago says, "We talked about this," and that was a funny scene. Like she was like, "Oh, I know so many things we can throw in there." She's like Maddie, Andy, and Jackson. He's like, "Oh," and he's like following her out the house. He's like, "Come on, we talked about this," and sometimes their dynamic can be really funny. And then later on, it shows the foursome doing, meaning Maddie, I almost said Jax. Why did I almost say Jax? Maddie, Diego, and Katie and Sophie in Maddie's bedroom doing homework. And Katie and Sophie found it weird that she was doing her own homework because, as we saw in previous episodes, that she usually had Katie or Sophie, usually Katie, I feel like, do her homework for her. Diego had his arm around her and their shoulders were touching. And he reassures her that he's like, it feels great, doesn't it, doing your own homework? But then Ursula shows up, so Diego has to hide in the closet. She makes a comment about smelling something nasty, so they kind of cover it up, saying that it was whatever Sophie was putting in her hair. I forgot what they said. I didn't put that in my notes. And Kitty finds it funny that witches think can I stink, because I guess they still have a little bit of a rivalry. Once Maddie and Diego started dating, their rivalry actually kind of became non-existent for the most part. And then in season 3, I don't think it ever shows up again. But Maddie says not to all witches. Diego hates keeping it a secret, but Maddie doesn't want her mom to know. Maddie asks Diego to show them his new trick, and once she says, and he does, which Katie freaks out because he's like, that's a dark hole or whatever how she pronounced it. But Maddie says she loves it. Ursula's mad that Diego was there. They're trying to decode a message and save the magic realm because when he was showing them the thing, a paper flew out. So now they're trying to decode what the message means. And this is also a scene I absolutely love. I'm going to be working on a top 10 or top 20, haven't decided how big the list is going to be, of Maddie and Diego moments. And this will probably be on there because it's such a small moment, but it's so cute. And because Ursula kept changing clothes because she wanted to be the savior of the realm, and she was like, "How does this look as my savior of the realm outfit or whatever?" And then Maddie gets mad. She's like, "Mother, She says, "Mother, who cares about fashion? The magic realm is at stake." This surprises everyone, including her. She's like, "Did I just say who cares about fashion?" But Diego was very much impressed. He sits next to her. He's like, "I like this side of you." But then Ursula said that Diego's a bad influence, which I think she said something similar when Maddie says please when asking Diego to make her a smoothie rather than just, forcing him, like, which honestly, these scenes you can understand why Maddie is the way she is because Ursula literally teaches Maddie to not care about people. So of course she wasn't gonna care about people growing up. But Diego was actually, well, according to Ursula, Diego's a bad influence, but he's a good influence. Let's be real. And so he sits next to Maskey, asking what got into her and that he likes it. And she explains how this will destroy her and her mom as well, because it can destroy the entire magic realm, and they're part of the magic realm, which would also destroy Diego, because he's a Kanai. Maddie insisted they needed Emma's help and looked unsure when Maddie said her magic was flawless. Diego, I said Maddie, didn't I? I meant, Diego insisted they needed Emma's help. Diego explains that Maddie will help defeat Desdemona. Desdemona uses Diego to get to Maddie. she kidnaps him and Gigi and put them in a cage at the 7. Um, Maddie is concerned when Diego doesn't answer her texts, and I love this. Like she was so focused on the magic realm before, but now that Diego's in danger, she's like that's all that matters. I have to go save Diego, and I absolutely love that. Like she definitely did a 180. Like all she cares about now is saving Diego. Um, so she wanted to go looking for him, and she was really sad when she found out that Desdemona kidnapped him, and now all she wants to do is go after him. Um, and then there's a fight with Emma, Daniel, and Andy about what to do. Like, do they go after uh Desdemona or do they go save Diego? Whatever. Desdemona thinks she overestimated Maddie's feelings for Diego, and he says she loves him. Gigi's like kind of sort of likes you, and I don't buy that. Like she does love him. Maddie shows up with the Panthers, asking Diego if he's okay, and he's ecstatic that she showed up. And they free him, and him and Maddie work together to stop Desdemona. They hug and look at each other with smiles, and causing Sophie to go "aw" and Gigi and Katie to go "ew." Like Katie, I swear, Katie's jealous. Okay, I swear that Katie was in love with Maddie throughout season 2. I don't think there's so many hints in season 3 and 4, if I remember correctly. But in season 2, only explanation. I'm sorry, it is. But they end up hypnotizing Gigi as they prepare for what they're about to do. Diego was concerned for Maddie, telling her she didn't have to go, but she insisted that it had to be her, which I love. It shows that she does have the ability to care, and like I said, Diego definitely had influence on her. Diego insists he'll keep the portal open for her, and she nods, and then they hug again. And then that's when Diego opens the portal, and Maddie jumps in. Diego begs to, Maddie was able to use the rope that they put on her to jump into the portal for the other council members so that they can get out. But then once all of them were out, they were trying to get Maddie out when the portal closed, and the council member said that if you get lost between limbo and here, you're just gone, vanished forever, whatever. And then but Diego couldn't keep the portal open, and he ends up actually fainting. And then when he wakes up and realizes what happened, he's like, and Diego refuses to let Maddie just be gone, and so he tries again, but has trouble opening the portal. And oh my gosh, the fear on his face, like he was actually so scared, his voice was cracking, and it was so heartbreaking. And then Diego's like, I'm going to open this portal. You guys pull as hard as you can, okay? And they're like, okay. And so he managed to open the portal again, and they managed to get Maddie out. And Maddie was very happy, always knowing that Diego would save her. He was so happy to see her, and then they have their first on-screen kiss, and then she stops. She's like, "Were you eating onions again?" I love that callback. And he was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I love onions," and then they kiss again. I was like, "Oh, so beautiful." I feel like that was actually perfect for their first on-screen kiss. I still would like to see their first actual kiss, but that's just me. Actually, it's not just me. I'm pretty sure I know at least one other person who agrees with me. So, anyways, moving on. And then it shows all the magical people being pulled towards the realm. So Maddie and Diego both have to hold on to something. Diego's holding on to the desk or the counter, while Katie and Sophie hold on to Maddie, trying to protect her. And Diego yells at Maddie to keep holding on to something. And then it shows her screaming as Katie and Sophie are, trying to keep her there. And that was really the last scene in the season. So this season, season 3 starts off with Diego working at the Beachside 7, which I guess I don't know if it's new or if it's only open during the summer or what, but it's a new thing that has to do with his parents' restaurant. And he's, working there while Maddie is, being Maddie and just sitting there watching Diego work. And Diego's getting mad at Gigi for not helping. So nothing new than when they work at the 7. Just saying. I feel like this is what happens. But then Emma accidentally freezes everybody. So it starts. So Maddie ends up getting it. Maddie screams and Diego runs to her and helps her as she's being attacked by Hex. But Maddie, of course, antagonized Hex because she always does. And Diego freaks out at Maddie's nose, now big and red, but then insists it's fine. Maddie threatens Hex, causing it to growl, and she jumped back as Diego held her. Later, the two of them are talking along with Emma, since only magical people are not frozen. Diego does a fake British accent, causing Maddie to laugh, and then Diego tries to convince Maddie not to go to the council, but she teleported away anyways. Later, Diego mentions seeing a girl in trouble. Maddie gets upset, thinking he's looking at another girl. Maddie watches Diego work and have a little meltdown. When Daniel said he's covered in blueberries, Maddie said Daniel said that Diego's covered in blueberries. Maddie said he's proxylicious. She was acting very, I don't know. My first thought was, is she a little high? Mia offers to help Diego, and Maddie gets jealous, and she says she can help too. And they're all like, really? And she orders the Panthers to cover for Emma. Maddie and Diego research canais. Diego is upset that witches think they stink, and Maddie says she thinks he smells nice. He asks what does he smell like, and she said onions and mustard cheese, which she loves both of them. They find out about canine markings, and Diego's arms glow as Maddie says that never gets old. I thought it was really cute. Like, Maddie was so busy trying to research canines because she wanted so badly to make witch canine relations better so that they could be together. See, this is what I mean. Like, they had everything, all the ingredients for a perfect forbidden relationship, even better than Emma and Daniel, if you ask me. Because I'm pretty sure their only issue with Emma being with Daniel isn't even because he's human, because obviously other witches have done that. I mean, her mom did that. She gave up everything to be with her human father. But their only problem was that Emma was the chosen one, and the chosen one couldn't do something so absurd. But witches and canines actually hate each other. So they had a better formula for a forbidden relationship than Emma and Daniel ever did. Okay? I stand by that 110%. But they didn't do anything with it. I mean, they did in some aspects, but I just feel like they could have gone so much more with this whole forbidden arc. But that's just my opinion. Let me know if you agree. But it was really cute that Maddie was trying to find out more about canines, and then they learn about markings and wonder if they're all the same. And she's looking at his arms as they glow, and she finds that so cool. Like I said, it's like I said about the whole Ember and Simone thing. It's just so cool to see see the chill, cool, never shows her emotions, never always seems kind of cold hearted, get all giddy and soft for that one person that can bring it out in them, and I just love it. Maddie grabs Diego's arms and looks at them, saying they're totally awesome and that they're learning something new. Maddie suggests that it's a tribe thing. Every group has a set of different markings. But then Ursula shows up, causing Diego to jump away from Maddie. This is funny because this is happening in Maddie's room, so Diego probably got all nervous that her mom caught them in Maddie's room. And they probably would have gone further with that if it wasn't a Nickelodeon show. But okay. The group plans the end of the summer party. Maddie gets upset. Diego asks Gigi who made her in charge, and she blackmails him. Maddie decides to stay when everyone goes inside. Maddie says she's getting mani petty, and that Diego's doing them just to get rid of Katie. And then Maddie goes up to Diego and is like, "You want to hear what I found out about canines and witches? They hate each other." And I love this because it implies that Maddie was doing research on her own, which she never did before Diego. She didn't even do her own homework before Diego, but now she's actively doing research about canine and witches because her relationship with Diego means that much to her, and I feel like she never would have done that for anybody else. Okay, and I just love how much she actually loves Diego and how much she actually doing so much just to be with him. And I feel like she's the kind of person, like, she would just like with the Daniel, it just seemed to make sense. You know, they were both popular. It's like the whole Sharpay and Troy thing. Sharpay didn't actually want Troy. She just wanted him because they were both popular. She thought it made sense. So that's why Maddie wanted Daniel in season 1. But with Diego in season 2, it's like it doesn't make sense. But in a way, they worked. Food for thought. Um, Maddie tells him that her plan is to impress the head um to improve relations. Ursula complains about this thing, and Maddie says she likes it, and that Ursula promised to be nice. Maddie is impressed by Diego's moves. Maddie talks about finding the prime spot on the beach, and Diego stares at her lovingly. I love those little like glances. You see like little tiny hints and things they do. Um, Diego asks Maddie if she's leaving. She has to get ready for the party. Diego asks if he should pick her up, and she says no, there's a lot of work to do. Diego realizes because of her mom, because their plan backfired. And then she tells him, I like you, and that's what counts. She kisses him on the nose. I love how Diego's version of and I wrote this in my notes because I guess it's something I wanted to remember. But I wrote, I love how Diego's version of relationship trouble is smoothie disagreements, which real. Like honestly, yeah, they might have had a few issues here and there, small disagreements, but honestly, they didn't even have a real fight until season 4, which we'll obviously get to because we're now in season 3, so we'll get there soon. But I love how like at this point, since they haven't had a real big fight, he's like the worst thing. He calls relationship troubles their smoothie disagreements, and I love it. They listen to Daniel play music. Maddie says he figured out Emma's no good for him, and Diego scolds her. Maddie tells Diego she came up with the perfect accessories for lunch. He said he's not wearing a tux, and she said he'll look super cute. Maddie freaks out when her locker is wet, and Diego uses his powers to dry them, but it burns them to a crisp, and Maddie said it's not his fault. I love how supportive they are. Like, Maddie, I don't feel like is supportive to anybody. Like, I mean, maybe Katie and Sophie, but even that I feel like can be not all the time. Like, obviously, it showed that Maddie, like, I feel like at the beginning, the three of them weren't even great friends at first. Like, I feel like Maddie always bossed them around, but I feel like I do feel like Diego's really good influence. I feel like the three of them really showed how much they actually care about each other, and when Maddie stopped being as horrible, their friendship really was able to blossom, truly. Um, I lost where I was in my notes. Maddie asks who wants to look for lard, and Diego laughs. Maddie is mad Katie stirred her up, and Diego backs away, asking what she's going to do. I also love when the man is just a little bit afraid of the woman. Diego rushes to tell Maddie that he's not the last Kanai. I love how when he found out that he's not the last Kanai, the first person he wanted to tell was Maddie. It's like, at the end of the day, no matter the relationships between witches and Kanais, no matter what Mia tries to whisper in his ear to get him away from Maddie, and even if the council was trying to split them up, or Ursula, who was trying to split them up at one point, no matter what any of them says, like they do not care. They care about each other. They always go to each other first about things, and I just love it. Um, Dago goes to Maddie's house and is upset to find out she's still fighting with Katie. I also love that. Like, I love that Dago knows how important Maddie's friendship with Katie is, and how he's always trying, even when Katie was like horrible to him, trying to kill him, mind you. Cause I'm still not over that, and I don't think I'll ever be over that, because how is that not discussed? And this happened in a Nickelodeon show. But anyways, I already did my rants on that in previous parts during that section, so not gonna get into that right now. But I feel like he always knew how important their friendship was, and I like with the whole birthday episode, and he's like, you need to go find Katie because you guys care about each other, you're best friends, whatever. Or and earlier episode before Maddie could even admit her feelings about Dago, there was the whole thing where and she was like mad at him, and she was doing an interview with Gigi, and she made a comment about friendship, and Dago was like, that was really nice, I really like that. And it's like, I think they actually do care about each other. I just don't think they always knew how to show it until around now. Season, like later half season 2, season 3, they're really showing how much they actually care about each other. I feel like Dago really sees how important their friendship is, and he's like always wants them to like work it out despite, disagreements or anything that happens in their relationship. Um Dago's wearing a shirt that says, "Forgive me, Maddie, I was wrong." And they look at each other lovingly. Ursula says they're about to have dinner, and Dago begins eating a sandwich, and Maddie giggles, causing Ursula to get upset. Dago tells Maddie about the other Kanai, and she's happy for him, and Ursula freaks out at the fact that there's another Kanai town, or that there's another Kanai at all, and I find that hilarious. Ursula, like at this point, like in season 2, Ursula was actually trying to keep them away from each other. Well, and she was trying to, but it's Ursula. And then season 3, she kind of accepted that they're together, whether she likes it or not, but she's not afraid to voice, oh, I don't like him. Oh, I don't want him over for dinner. Oh, this, oh, that, whatever. But then in season 4, and I think it was like towards closer, like either the middle or even maybe a little bit closer to the end when that episode happened, and she finally actually kind of likes him. So, like, most of the show, she was just adamantly against this relationship. Maddie was about to order Dago to get Sierra from her locker and then paused. Dago ran up to get it for her. Maddie wants to find the Kanai first and holds Dago's hands. They're talking about like what to do first with stuff that was going on, and Maddie obviously wants to help Dago by finding the Kanai, and that's the first thing she wants to do. But then Andy, being Andy and wanting it her way, mentions the screen has gotten really bright again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Andy mentions the Kanai may be a girl. Dago wanted them to stop talking as Maddie got very clearly upset. Maddie gets upset and he says he'll never cheat on her. Maddie doesn't want them to tell Daniel that Mia might be the Kanai. Maddie and Dago talk and laugh at her house. Dago's upset she was harsh at Maddie, and she's upset too. Now I don't have to buy the other one. Come on, she's your best friend, and you are an amazing boyfriend. I love that. Like, first of all, she just, sort of, changed the subject in her very Maddie way. But I love how, he was trying so hard because, Katie means something to Maddie, but then she's like, you're an amazing boyfriend. Teleports in between them as they try to kiss, making Maddie mad. And then she gets upset. She's like, you interrupted a very special, very private moment. Maddie tricks Emma, and Dago shakes his head. Maddie says Katie won't be a bridesmaid in their future wedding, which is like, this is how bad she became. Like, what do you mean how old are they? I'm pretty sure it doesn't show them graduating, but I'm pretty sure they graduated at the end of the show when they seen Andy off. And the two of them were about to leave on their road trip to find Kanais. So, how old are they? They must be at least 16, 17, right? Why are they talking about a wedding? Just saying. Anyways, but this shocked Dago, and he smiles at her. She sat down, and he sat next to her. And they hold hands as they're talking and laughing. When Daniel gets mad at Jax, Maddie holds on to Diego. Diego uses his heat powers, and Maddie says it's too hot, and he apologizes. Maddie talks about changing her shoes every hour, and Diego nods along. I love how he kind of just, nods at her about, the way she acts, and he just kind of goes along with it because it's Maddie. Dago gets excited that there might be a third Kanai, and Maddie screams, "No more pretty Kanai girls!" Which showed her jealousy, and then she gets very self-conscious because she didn't want anyone to know that she was jealous, even though it was obvious. And then Maddie gets nervous and says they might be dangerous. Mia tells Dago the meeting is somewhere else and tricks Maddie and Emma in a closet, locking them in there. Mia tells Dago she's going to save him. which gave him kind of a weird look. He kind of gave this weird look because he's like, he must be thinking like, why would I need saving? Like he genuinely didn't think anything was wrong with him. And I don't know, maybe if he grew up with Kanais, maybe if Maddie grew up knowing that she was in a witch family or whatever. I don't really know. But maybe they, depending on how they were raised, they could have hated each other. But because they grew up not even knowing about their powers or their identities or this rivalry, they had the chance to fall in love before they even really knew that it was bad for them to fall in love. And think about how different things could have been if they just knew the truth from the get go. They could have hated each other with just because they were told to. But also, kids have more endurance, like tolerance. That's the word I was looking for, not endurance, but they have that too. But kids, even teenagers, have more tolerance than a lot of adults who are stuck in their ways and hate for no other reason than just to hate. And I feel like that also helps. Like Maddie likes what Maddie likes, Diego likes what Diego likes, and it didn't really matter if there was this rivalry going on. Even if they knew, they might have still fallen in love and tried to fight for a better tomorrow together. And I think that's beautiful. Um, but this next part I love because what do you mean? Does this mean they're actual soulmates? Because what do you mean that Maddie screams in this closet that's frozen solid while Day goes far away? Nobody outside the door could even hear him, let alone across the building. But somehow he sensed her sensed that she was in trouble. So he runs to find her and figure out what's going on. Like, what do you mean? Like, is this actual soulmatism right now? Because I don't have any other words to explain it. So moving on. Diego tried to melt the door, which, had issues. But then they were able to free them. Mia was able to look like the so-called heroine by helping, pretending like she didn't actually, whatever. But Diego helps Maddie up and they hugged. Maddie gets upset at Diego talking to Mia. Maddie said her spot is next to her boyfriend. Maddie says, I can't believe you do this to me, and Diego wanted to run after her and apologize, but Mia said they don't apologize to witches. And then this is a scene I love. I saw it on a few edits recently on TikTok, and I was like, I love this scene. I mean, it's kind of sad at one point, but also, kind of sweet. And another, Maddie is talking to Sophie, and, she's like, how long do we have to wait here? And, Diego always comes after me. And then she's like, see, there he is. And, she said he'll come. And then she's like, see, there he is. He always comes after me. And he says, I do. And then they hug, but Maddie could tell that something was off with the hug. And, she asked what's wrong. And Diego told Maddie that witches destroyed the Kanais because he learned more about the history between them from Mia. Because he only had limited knowledge because he wasn't raised by Kanais. And this brings up another question. There's so many questions. Okay, I did a video. This was probably at least a few months ago called "Unanswered Questions in Every Which Way." Definitely check that out because there were several actual unanswered questions. One of them is, well, first of all, I was thinking about this when I was talking about the Beachside 7, because what do you mean that Diego basically runs the store while being a full-time student, while having time to go to school, hang out with Maddie, do his Kanai stuff, like, but he's always at the 7 too, working, and having to take it, and have to deal with Gigi, who barely does any work. Like, where are his parents? Why are they never around? They own the store, yet you always see Diego and kinda Gigi, they're working. But anyways, that's not a question I was gonna bring up. It's so, because we brought this up in the group chat. We talked about this before. It's like, is Diego adopted? Because Gigi's not a Kanai, and as far as we know, neither are his parents. So, is Diego adopted? Because if it's because even with witches, like Maddie's mom doesn't have powers, but they're something what you call a powerless witch. It's like they're born in a witch. It's kind of like squibs in Harry Potter. They're born in witch families, but it's like the magic just didn't, like they just didn't inherit the magic part. And it's the same thing. It's like there are some witches like Lily, like Ursula, that are born in witch families, but just didn't inherit the magic part. And but Kanais, as far as I feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions in Kanais. Maybe because the only two Kanais we actually meet are Diego and Mia, and up until season 3, it was only Diego, and Diego only finding out that he was Kanai didn't know much about Kanais. So everything that we end up finding out about Kanais happened thanks to Mia's introduction in season 3. She taught us more about Kanais and him than he ever could have because he didn't know that much. So is he adopted? That's my question. Is he adopted? Because it seems like Kanais are genetics. They talked about the potential of Kanai tribes. Mia's parents were Kanais. So if it is genetic, just like witches, whether or not you get the powers is nothing, but being a witch is genetic. Like Emma, like her dad might have been human, but her mom was a witch, so she was still managed to get the whole witch genetics. Even though Maddie's mom didn't get the witch genetics, Maddie did. So if the same thing is with Kanais and the Kanai thing is genetic, then his parents would have had to have been Kanais. And unless it's the same thing, and the same thing can happen, but then again, if the same thing happened and it just didn't. First of all, the possibilities of it passing both of his parents and his sister is highly improbable. Also, even if it did miss them, the genetics missed them, it's like they still would have known about the Kanais and all of that because they would have been born in a Kanai family. So the only possibility is that Diego's potentially adopted. There's so many unanswered questions. Definitely check out my unanswered question video of every which way. Moving on. I got into another side rant. I keep doing that. Maddie asked if that means he should be with Mia, and he said it's just a lot to process. He walks away, and Maddie does a spell wrong, giving him her eyes. She said something. How did she pronounce it? She was like, make Diego only have eyes of me instead of for me. So now his eyes were her eyes, and it looked really weird. Okay, and then later on, Maddie's talking to her mom, complaining about Diego choosing Mia's side, causing her to do a spell to cause Diego to get stuck to her shoe, which made him, well, stuck to her shoe. And then later on, you see he had gone free, and they were talking. And Diego said he couldn't believe she did that, and she apologized, but he liked seeing her jealous, which I find funny because like you see Diego jealous so many times already. Mostly throughout season 2, there was several times with Daniel that he was jealous, and you see more of that in season 4 as well. But it was kind of nice to see Maddie jealous for a change. Diego says she needs to trust him. She's afraid witches and Kanais are destined to not get along, and he said they're going to change that. Maddie admits Mia is the one that locked him in the closet, but was afraid to tell him because he was so happy about finding another Kanai. And I love his response because he's like, not if that Kanai's gonna hurt you. Like, he would do anything for her. Like, he would go against the only other Kanai he's ever met and might ever meet for Maddie. Like, he loves that girl, okay? And then he asks how she knew that it was Mia, and she explains that she made one of those snowy flurry things that Diego always makes, which is obviously a Kanai thing. So Diego makes one, and Maddie touches it, causing it to snow. He takes her hand, and they kiss. Such a beautiful moment. Later, Maddie goes to the 7, but Diego's not there, and she's mad he tricked her. So she did a spell to find him, finding out he's at Mia's. And then Maddie teleports, and they are confused about why they're both there. It's like, what's going on? Diego protects Maddie, having her behind him. Maddie tries to cast a spell on Mia, but Diego tries to stop her, and he puts her behind him again. Maddie looks offended when Jack says Diego's Kanai stinks worse than Philip. Diego keeps his arm around Maddie the entire time. I love how protective he is of her. Um, Maddie tells Diego to throw a lightning bolt at her, but he still doesn't have control of his powers. He wants her to cast another spell, but she can't because of the crystal she's wearing. Maddie says this has been fun, but they have to and go and tries to leave, causing me to throw a fireball. She screamed as Diego pushed her back, stepping in front of her. Diego got angry. Do not mess with Diego when he gets angry. When it comes to Maddie, like, he is like, okay, Diego's a cinnamon roll, okay? He's a sweetheart. He is very, I want to say he's a pacifist, but he's definitely not much of a fighter. He is very sweet, very cinnamon roll like. Hurts Maddie, threaten Maddie, he becomes dangerous. I think it's the only time, those are the only times you actually see him dangerous. Like, just don't mess with Maddie, okay? But he got angry and threw a fireball at Mia, and Maddie was so proud of him. And Diego made sure to keep her behind him. Diego ducked when she threw a fireball and reached his hand out to Maddie. Diego opens the door for Maddie as they leave, putting his hand on her back, which I love those small little gestures. It shows how much they care about each other. Um, Maddie gushes about how brave and heroic Diego was. Mia asks how Diego can defend them, and he says to not talk about his friends and that they are his tribe. I love when shows do that, okay? When there's like, okay, like Teen Wolf, same thing happens, right? Not every one of them were wolves, and when you think of someone calling them their pack, you're thinking of their other wolves, right? But no, Scott, who until later on didn't know many werewolves, um, he his friends were his tribe. No matter what they were, Styles was human, but his best friend. Then there was like Lydia the Banshee, Allison a hunter, um, there was Malia, and then there was Kira, and they were all his pack. Whether or not they were werewolves is another thing. They were his pack. Same thing happened on Wolf Blood. Maddie and Riddy were werewolves, but Shannon and Tom were human. But they were so close that they became a pack. And then later on, when those characters were all gone, and it was just Yana and her group, they were all her pack. To be fair, in this case, most of them were werewolves, but I can't remember her name, but that one of the K's who ended up getting really close to Yana during this time, was a part of her pack, even though she was human. And I love when shows do this because I've seen it several times actually. Those are the only two examples I can think of right now, but I'm pretty sure I've seen other examples of the same thing. Where it's like they are his pack, they are his tribe, whether or not they are the same species. And I love that because Dago may never have known another Kanai until Mia. But at the end of the day, Mia and him can be friends if she's going to try to hurt the people he care about. That's not even just Maddie or even Katie and Sophie. That's all his friends. That includes Emma and Andy and Daniel and Jax. They all have become his tribe, even though he's the only Kanai. And they are either witches or humans, but they are his family. They are his tribe, and I absolutely love that. So yeah. um I shows up to class and happy to see him, afraid the kangaroo would have gotten him because there was a kangaroo loose. That's a whole other story. And hugged him. Maddie wasn't happy to see Mia, and she said and Mia said they're talking to Kanai, saying that and then she changes it to Kanai, to sort of kind of Kanai, which implied that Diego wasn't full Kanai. And then Diego said not all witches are bad, and Mia says sounds like Kanai who's under a witch's spell, offending Maddie, saying their love is real, causing Mia to say sounds like a sneaky witch trying to trick Kanai, upsetting Diego. And it's like she does not believe that a witch could actually care about Kanai, or that a Kanai could actually care about a witch unless she's under a spell or she's trying to trick him. And I do get it because like she had bad experiences with witches because that's how her family died. But it's the same thing. It's like not all Kanais are good. Not all witches are good. Not all humans are good. But if there are some bad, then there are some good too. But then he tells her, "You can insult me, but you cannot insult Maddie." And then so Mia challenges Diego to a duel. Diego gets angry when Mia said he could do a lot better and does a dance for the Kanai duel as Maddie looks at so proud. I I love it. I love like I was rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine a bit ago, and one of the best couples in TV history is Jake and Amy, and I will stand by that. And I could go on and on about that, but this video is not about them. But it's like they love each other's quirks, and even like when um Amy ended up passing her sergeant test and started doing her very weird happy dance. Jake got so happy he was like, that's she's gonna be my wife, and it was just so cute. Like he was so proud of her. It's the same thing. Like Maddie was just so proud of Diego doing this weird little dance for the challenge or whatever, and it was so cute. Um. And then Mia tells him prepare to be defeated. Maddie tells Diego he was courageous, but was nervous, and she said but he was nervous, and she said she'll help him prepare. And then Maddie later says he defended my honor. Someone, I didn't say who said, I put the quote, but I didn't say who said it. I think it was Katie. Said, I thought you were Bonnie. And then Diego says, we were until she started to insult Maddie and all my friends. Um, Maddie teleports as Diego's training, and he says he don't do that because he could hurt her. Maddie tells Diego about Gigi trying to find out about the realm. Diego says he's happy she's friends with Katie again. Diego says he'll take care of Gigi. Maddie says he has snowed down Pat and needs to work on fireballs. She says she'll help him train and gives them matching clothing. So cute. Diego's afraid he lost his edge. He says he only did it in Mia's basement because he was afraid she was going to hurt Maddie, and she gushed at that. Um, Maddie says snow and ice are nothing compared to fireballs and lightning. Diego is happy to see Katie with the Panthers again. Maddie says Mia isn't stronger and that Diego won't lose. I love how supportive she is of him and how much she believes in him, even though Mia, has a lot more experience. She's like, oh, my proxy's got it. And I just love it. He definitely needs someone to hype him up. Yeah, I love that because I feel like in season 2 you see Diego hyping Maddie up a lot, but Maddie was like hiding her feelings for so long, and in this season you're really seeing her hype Diego up for a change, and I really like that. Maddie got mad at finding out that if he loses, he has to obey Mia because he only obeys her. I I love their relationship. Uh, Diego wears a jacket that says Maddie's proxy because why not? I don't know. Their relation can be weird sometimes, but you've gotta love it. And then it shows Maddie coaching Diego. Maddie hugs Diego and tells him he's got this, and he gave her his jacket. Katie and Sophie show up, and Diego thanks them. I love how, because this is actually so sweet, because Katie and Sophie, okay, mostly Katie, let's be real, Sophie was just doing whatever Katie wanted, but Katie hated, Diego, okay? But now, I feel like the two of them have, like, even at the end of season 2, I feel like they just tolerated each other at times because it's like Maddie and Diego were dating and Katie and Maddie were best friends, so they tolerate each other even though they didn't care that much about each other. But now I feel like they've actually become genuine friends, and I feel like they actually would do things for each other. And I love how Katie came to support Diego, who she once tried to murder. Am I gonna stop mentioning that? Probably not. If the opportunity presents itself, I will talk about Katie trying to murder Diego when they were 16. That's not gonna change. Just letting you know. Anyways, I lost where I'm at. Maddie tells him he doesn't have to do this, and he says he does, so that she'll stop. Diego told him to step back and he's got this as Maddie claps for him. The Panthers start cheering for him. Go get him, Proxy! Mia throws a fireball, almost hitting Maddie, and Diego says to leave her out of this. He asks if she's okay, and she insists that she is. Diego won't give in to her, and she threatens to go after Maddie, causing him to jump up and beg them to leave. But Maddie won't leave him. I love that. Like I even though season 2 was like probably their best season, I feel like season 3 season 4 they were definitely put on the back burner, but I feel like season 3 doesn't get the appreciation it deserves. Like I feel like there was so many great Miyako content in season 3. Like you got more of their forbidden arc with Mia trying to separate them, Ursula still not happy about them. You finally get Daigo and Katie's sort of friendship. Um and we get Maddie's jealousy, we get um them learning more things about Kanais. We get a lot of protective Diego in this season because of Mia. Like, I don't think we get too much of protective Diego in season 2, mostly because there was really nothing to protect her from, except for at the end when he was trying to save her. Um, but in season 3, there's a lot of times that he gets all protective, and I feel like season 3 actually has great Miego content that's not talked about enough. And yeah, so season 3 needs more recognition, I guess. I don't know. Because there's actually a lot of great content in this season. So, anyways, and we also get more Maddie hyping Diego up. Like, there's so much we get in season 3 that I don't think we really got in season 2. Like, now that, because, like, so much in season 2, even though season 2 was definitely one of their best eras, um, like, Maddie was trying to hide her feelings for him half the season and stuff. And then this season, like, she's fully in love with him. She'll do anything for him. She's hyping him up. She just getting jealous. She's protective over him. And I just feel like there's so much that we're getting in season 3 that we didn't get in season 2, and that's why I think season 2 and 3 are equally great eras for Miyako, just in different ways. And I definitely love their season 3 era. Don't get me wrong, season 2 era will always be probably the best, but season 3 is great because like they're together the entire season. They're happy. They're fully in love. There's like I said, jealous Maddie. There's protective Diego. There's them fighting Kanai witch relations and doing everything they can to be together despite the world telling them that they're not supposed to. And I just feel like there's so much great content, and their story in season 3 is actually really great, and it gets season 2 overshadows season 3, I think, and I think season 3 just needs more recognition because it's actually great and has some great Miego content. Anyways, moving on from my rant. Um, Dago gets knocked out, and then later on, Dago wakes up with his head on Maddie as she's taking care of him, and asks, if he won, and he asks if he won, and she says she's not sure. Maddie tells him he threw some nice fireballs, which made him happy, and then says maybe it was a tie. If it was a tie, maybe we'll have to duel again, and I'm ready. Dago falls, and Maddie goes to get the Kanai book. Mia calls saying she's his master now, and Dago thought he did a good job, and then she started controlling him. Dago leaves to Mia's house, confusing Maddie as she thought he was dancing. Maddie called Daniel to talk to Mia about Dago. Dago, and I kind of like that too. Like Maddie knew that there was something going on between Mia and Daniel, and like she contacts Daniel, her ex, to help her with her current boyfriend. Okay, I don't know why I like that, but I do. Because I feel like they are kind of on good terms now because of, there were things that were complicated in their relationship in the past, but I feel like they are just better as friends. Um, Dago hurts himself by trying to like fight the control to protect Maddie in the realm, wanting the card and refusing to listen to Mia. Like he was literally basically electrocuting himself trying to save Maddie and the realm, which I love him for that. Dago suggests Maddie to get Emma and Mia out of the game as she's the only one that wasn't exposed to, because at this point, there was a little bit of a time jump, and now Mia and Emma are stuck in a video game. As she was the only one not exposed to crystal, so her magic is at full force. Maddie says that she got them out, and Dago says it was a group effort. Mia goes to leave, and then Diego said, "That's my cue. I've been shocked enough for one day." Diego hugs Maddie and kisses her head, but then Mia stops and releases him. Diego gets excited as he puts his arm around Maddie. This is what I get, and then Maddie says, "This is what I get for saving you guys," talking about the zombie, because now he's kind of, her brother, I guess. I don't know. That was all a little weird. But then Diego nudges her. Diego cheering with Maddie and the Panthers. And of course, Andy sees and is like, "Are you really cheering with him?" Um, and then later you see the group, and Diego convinces Maddie to join the group hug, but she mostly just kind of hugs Diego in the little group. Maddie whispers to Diego that Emma's crazy. Maddie thinks they're trying to upset Diego. Diego said he's not upset over an ex who doesn't exist, causing Maddie to laugh. Because right now nobody remembers Daniel, so Emma's trying to get everyone to remember by telling them things about Daniel, including the fact that she used to date Maddie. That he used to date Maddie. I said she. Oh well. Diego and Maddie were looking and laughing at something on her phone. They don't think it's possible that this whole Daniel thing even happened. Maddie and Diego stares lovingly at each other and link arms as they leave. Diego convinces Maddie to help them get in touch with the magic PI by saying Maddie will owe her a favor. Emma will owe her a favor. And tells her, "You are the liberator of the council and savior of the chosen one." Because she loves, bringing that up. Diego convinces her we can get a sash and a pair of shoes. Maddie drops a bunch of papers and asks Diego to help her. It's a bunch of pictures of Emma's dad. Maddie looks sheepish as Diego looks at her. Maddie tells Diego she's not going and says the humidity because of the humidity surprising Diego. Maddie claims her hair will look bad, and Diego said her hair could never look bad. Diego said that they need her because if something goes wrong, she's the only one that can fix it. He really knows how to hype her up to convince her to do stuff. And I feel like he's the only one that he's like he always hypes her up and be like, because you're the liberator of the council, because you're the one that can fix things, knowing that's the only way to get her to agree to go and do this. He said that safari fashion is in right now and she can get a lot of new fashion. She agrees and he grins. He really knows how to talk to her, I swear. She says by proxy in a flirtatious tone, blowing him a kiss before leaving. Later on, you see them again. Maddie doesn't like the RV Diego brought and is upset he won't let her use magic because of Gigi. The RV ends up breaking down and Diego doesn't know what he's doing to try to fix it. And Diego told Maddie no magic. Maddie uses magic to make him a cauliflower, but he said he's looking for the carburetor. She always does that, I swear. She gets words wrong all the time. They hear a noise and Maddie gets scared. Maddie runs to Diego, who pulls her close, calling him her proxy. And he says, "Don't worry, Maddie, I got this." Daniel said it's the belt, and Maddie cheered, saying that's what Proxy said. Because she's always so proud of him. It's so cute. Diego asked Maddie if she wanted to go on a boat, and she called him inside and said they're not going. Diego is excited and wants to show Maddie something, but he gets surprised at how frizzy her hair is. He said, "Let me try something," and to trust him. Diego uses his magic on her hair, and it works. Problem solved, Kanai style. I really like that. And then she's like, "Proxy, you fixed it." And they hug. Diego puts his arm around Maddie, and Maddie tells them that he fixed her hair, all proud, and they make fun of him. But I love how proud she is of him. Diego and Maddie are upset that the Panthers and Gigi are missing. Diego says he's going to search for them, or as Maddie says, "My proxy, my hero." Maddie warns Diego about his markings showing and calms him down. Just like how he knows how to talk to her, she's the only one that knows how to calm him down when he gets in a mode like that, and I just love it. They really balance each other out. Maddie's concerned for Diego when he gets freaked out. Maddie and Diego argue about going with them. Diego runs out into the storm to get Maddie's luggage. He got the wrong luggage. She asks him to go back, batting her eyelashes, and he laughs. Diego finds Kanai markings, and Maddie asks what it means. and he responds, "At one point, there's Kanais around here." Maddie tells Diego to do something, and then casts a spell on Gigi to speak Turkish, and Diego gets upset. And then whenever she says whatever she says in Turkish, Maddie says, "I think it sounds romantic. I think it has a romantic ring to it." And he's like, "Oh, I love the way he says this line. Okay, he's like, "Oh yeah, Turkish language of love," and he was just so sarcastic with it. Maddie tries to wipe her memory, which gets Diego even more upset. They talk about what to do about Gigi. Maddie finds out Diego had something plugging his ears while Gigi was talking. Jax tells Diego Maddie's a pretty great girl, and he says, "Yeah, she's one of a kind." I always love his responses when people bring up Maddie. Like, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this when we talked about this earlier season 2 scene when he was talking to Daniel, and Daniel was like, "I figured she'd drive you crazy by now," and he's like, "Oh, she has, and I can't get enough of it." Like, that's what Maddie needs. Like, somebody who doesn't think she's too much, even if she can be sometimes. Somebody who thinks she's just enough. It's like that thing that Dove Cameron was saying when she wrote that song, "Go Find Less" or something, whatever it's called. And basically she's saying, if you think I'm too much, then go find less. Like, I'm not gonna take away my muchness. And she said that in an interview once. And it's like same things. Like, Maddie needs somebody who can accept all of her, even the parts of her that's not that great, and who can handle her muchness and doesn't want her to make herself smaller. Which, no offense, but I feel like Daniel was doing. And yeah, she can be a lot, but if you can't handle it, then don't be with her. And I feel like Dago just loves her for her, and I love his responses when people bring up Maddie. Okay, there. Jax convinces Dago to get jealous of Maddie and that Maddie and Daniel used to date. Um, Later, Maddie says, "I wanted to wipe her mind, but Proxy said it's too dangerous." And Dago finally lets her. But then after Maddie changed her outfit and Dago looked approving, Maddie and Dago fought over to wipe her memory again because Gigi saw it. Maddie erases Gigi's memory, and Daniel is irritating Diego, so lots of drama. And he tells her, "Be careful with magic around Gigi." She says, "I was aiming for Gigi and Daniel got in the way." Dago tells Emma what happened, and she said, "I was trying to help." Maddie tells Dago their game their game plan to help Daniel remember. And when Dago was introducing everyone, he introduces Maddie as who I'm closest to. And when she walks up, he kisses her cheek. Maddie wouldn't let Dago help. Later, she says, "He's my boyfriend." Maddie takes Dago's hand and finds a seat. Because they're at it's the whole crossover with Talia in the kitchen, and one of the girls really thought Dago was cute. And then Dago agrees to Maddie that 7 is better than this restaurant they're at. And now they're under this whole truth thing. I've never actually seen Talia in the kitchen except for the one episode that I watched for the Every Which Way crossover. But apparently she can, like, I don't know, put stuff in the people's food, magic stuff. So apparently, I don't know. But Diego says, "When will your mom stop raging on me about being a kanai?" And she says, "Knowing her, never." And he's like, "Why?" And she says, "Because you stink." And then everyone like gasps, and he's like, "What?" And she's like, "I happen to love that smell." And that's another thing I love. Like, even she's finally admitting that he does have a stink to him, because witches can always smell it. And she always denied it, saying that she likes how he smells, that he doesn't smell, whatever. And and I love how she admits here, because she's under this truth thing, that he does smell, but it's like she loves him, so she loves the smell. And it's just a small little thing, but I just love it. Maddie clapped after Diego made a fireball. Maddie's jealous because of the girl that likes Diego. And now Daniel has his memories back, but only up until before he met Emma. So Daniel thinks that him and Maddie are dating. Because if I remember correctly, Daniel and Maddie were broken up when the show started, but it wasn't long. And Maddie was expecting them to get back together because that was their little routine. But then Emma shows up and Daniel likes Emma, and then Maddie falls for Diego, so that doesn't happen, obviously. And this is upsetting Maddie and Diego. And then Daniel was like, "Remember what you said? Together's forever." And then Diego was like, "Hey, you say that to me!" Diego flicked Daniel's head when he grabbed Maddie's hand. Daniel tries to kiss Maddie, and Diego creates a block of ice. Diego tells Maddie he did this because he was trying to kiss Maddie. And her response is, "This is so romantic." Because only she would find this romantic. I don't know. Maddie defends Diego and says it was an accident. Diego asks what's going on, and Emma says Daniel thinks he's dating Maddie. And Maddie says, he's not my type. And Emma says, he is your type, or was. Sorry, Diego, but you two used to date. Maddie thinks Emma's making things up. Diego wanted to tell him the truth, but Emma wanted to play along, even though they were highly against it, to be safe for Daniel. And then Diego gets upset. It's like he doesn't remember anything. And then he's like, "Oh, but he remembers dating my girlfriend. Just great." Maddie tells them about a spell that gives back a half-hour memory at a time. And she said, "I used it, or I was going to use it on Gigi, but I'd never do that." And he's like, I do. I can't stress how much I actually love the relationship. Like, the way he just understands her. And sometimes they can be a little snarky and stuff, but I absolutely love it. They begrudgingly agree to play along while Emma figures out what to do. And Maddie says, "I guess I'm his girlfriend." And Dio's like, "Oh no, I don't agree to that." And Maddie places her hand on his and says, "His fake girlfriend." And he's like, "Okay." Katie asks if Diego's okay with her dating Daniel. And, she says she's fake dating him. See, I feel like that Katie's like now caring about his feelings and like making sure he's okay with this. And I'm like, this is like a 180 from Katie in season 2 when she's literally trying to murder him. I told you I wasn't gonna get over that. I'm still not over that. Every time I watch those scenes, I'm like, this girl's trying to commit murder right now, and it's just totally glossed over. So yeah, I like to bring it up every time I can. It's like, I'm tired. Maddie says she wants to show Diego she cares and do something nice for him. Diego is ranting later on with Emma, and he says, "I just saw Daniel plan a romantic date with my girlfriend to maybe help him with his memory so he doesn't disappear." He's a little unhinged right now. Emma explains he has 2 memories and a gap in one of them. And Diego says he also remembers that he has another girlfriend too, but does that stop him from dating my girlfriend? No. I love how this entire time he's not saying anything about like stop him from dating Maddie or planning a date with Maddie. He always says my girlfriend, like he's planning a date with my girlfriend. He remembers that he's dating my girlfriend. Does that stop him from dating my girlfriend? And yeah, he's like letting people know that he's not okay with this and that Maddie's his girlfriend. And then he tries to pretend that he's fine with it, which he is not. Emma says, "Do you two want to be my guinea pigs?" Diego says, "I'm allergic to guinea pigs, but it'll stop Daniel from dating Maddie, then sure." The spell worked, and they remember Daniel. Diego gets upset that Daniel wants to call Maddie. Because he still remembers that he's dating Maddie. help him remember me and get. So Emma said, help him remember me and he'll get over Maddie. And Diego jumps in saying he's in. Daniel says he thinks Diego likes Maddie and is trying to embarrass him in front of her. Diego insists he's wrong. And then Daniel says, I see the way you look at her and your voice gets all high when you talk about her. It's obvious. And Diego tries to play it off like, me and Maddie? Diego says Diego he needs to move on, making Diego mad as he says Daniel needs to move on because Maddie is his girl. Diego says they used to date, but he's dating Maddie now. Daniel says they'd make a terrible couple. I'm like, they're literally the best couple, so obviously that's not true. Maddie, Diego, and Daniel have lunch together. Daniel asks Maddie about the couple special, and she nods, making Diego stand up and protest as his cat eye markings start glowing. And she's like, Proxy, no. And Diego's like, what's wrong? I'm not the jealous type. Which is hilarious. I saw this TikTok, and it showed that scene in the very beginning of this edit. It was like, what's wrong with me? I'm not the jealous type. And then he proceeds to show him being jealous ever since season 2. Like, he showed that he was the jealous type. So why is he saying he's not the jealous type now? I don't know. And then he says, now I have to serve the couple special. And Maddie says, Proxy, it's not your fault. I never should have agreed to this. Maddie doesn't want to stay in this fake relationship anymore. Diego comments that he could disappear. Maddie isn't happy. And then Sophie slips up about Maddie wiping Gigi's memory again. Diego says Maddie and realizes that why Gigi was acting weird and says she has to stop casting spells at school. Maddie insists it was for a good reason, Diego to ask, prompting Diego to ask what that was, and Maddie says she was still working on it and can't tell him yet. Daniel brings up an embarrassing memory of Diego, making Maddie laugh. Daniel says he's going to miss Diego and Maddie most of all and wanted them to be together, and they agree a little too quickly and enthusiastically because Daniel thinks he might disappear. And that's hilarious. I lost where I am. Gigi questions Maddie and Diego about where Daniel has been, and they stumble with their response. But then after that, they hold hands, thinking they nailed the response. Ursula is planning the Van Pelt reunion. Maddie wants to invite Diego so her family can get to know him, and Ursula freaks out, making Maddie angry. Maddie asks why she can't, and Ursula, just so you know, this arc is one of my favorites, and it also leads to one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. Despite the fact that most of their best content is from seasons 2 and 3, this is one of my favorite arcs, and like I said, it does lead to one of my favorite episodes and my favorite moment of the two of them. One of my favorite moments of the two of them, because they have so many. Maddie asks why she can't, and Ursula says because of his canai stench, and Maddie says she'll just keep him away from the food. Ursula doesn't want the family to know that her daughter dates one of them, as she puts it. And Maddie's like, one of them? There's only like 2 left on the earth. And Ursula's like, yeah, and you had to end up with one of them. Maddie says they're going to find out someday, and Ursula says maybe not, confusing Maddie by what she means. I swear, this is like, I don't know, paralleling I don't know, homophobic, I guess, family, because the way she calls this a phase is kind of like what they always say about gay people. So it's like I don't know. But anyways, Ursula calls this a phase she's going through of dating inappropriate boys, but she'll eventually date a wizard boy. Maddie says he's not a phase, he's her boyfriend, and either he goes or she doesn't. Maddie rushes to Diego, excited to tell him. Diego gets so excited about getting to go with her this year. Katie and Sophie object. Diego realizes this is a big step and is excited that her mom is finally accepting him. She says, not really. And he says, then why is she letting me go? And Maddie says she's not. Maddie says that she's willing for him to be a waiter. This is upsetting him. Maddie says and then so they get into this huge fight. Like I said, they don't get into many fights, honestly. But this is when they get into their biggest argument, which causes to their one and only breakup, which only lasts an episode. So Um, Maddie says her life is over. Katie says it doesn't matter that they had one fight. She had hundreds of fights with Daniel. Um, and it also shows that like this proves that Maddie cares more about Diego than she ever did with Daniel. Like they fought all the time, and she really didn't care. Like they would break up. She'd be like, we'll get back together. But with Diego, it really upsets her because she doesn't like fighting with him. Maddie says that it was always her mad at him. This time, Proxy is mad at her. Katie suggests apologizing, and she says that's great because then everything will be great, but unsure how to do it. Later on, Daniel asks Diego if he's okay, and he says that he had a fight with Maddie. Um, and then as they're talking about it, Diego says, but he's not sorry about it. And he says, after everything we've been through, Diego wonders what she. He says, after everything we've been through. Diego wonders what she thinks will happen if he goes. He accidentally freezes a pizza box because of his mood. Later on, you see Maddie makes a playlist of sad music because of her mood. Ursula wants to lead the coven. Maddie orders pizza to see Diego. This was the funniest thing because she wanted to see him and apologize so bad, but she didn't know how, so she just kept ordering pizza to try to see him and figure out what to say. And I just think that's so cute. Like with Daniel, she never cared enough to even apologize. But with Diego, she actually cares enough to try to apologize. She just doesn't know how to do it. And what's even cutest later on when Diego makes comment that that's what she's trying to do, which means he's aware of what she's trying to do, and he's just playing along with it, like waiting for her big apology to eventually come. Which I get why Diego's upset, and I do think Maddie could stick up with him a little bit more than she does and fights for their relationship. But at the same time, I don't think this is entirely Maddie's fault. Like this is definitely on her mom. Like she can't control how her mom feels about Diego. Um, they stare at each other awkwardly. She gives him the money and he leaves. And then she's like, "That's it? How did the plan not work?" Because she didn't say anything. That's why. Later on, you see Maddie again in her room. She changes because Diego has already saw her in that outfit, and she wants him to see her in a different outfit. Apparently, Maddie gives him the money for the pizza, and he almost leaves, but she stops him, and she said, "There's something I want to say to you. I'm not really good at this. It's really hard for me." Diego listens as he stares at her lovingly, like ready for that apology, and then she yells at him for extra cause she ordered extra. She yells at him for for extra because she thought it was ridiculous to charge extra for extra cheese. He gets mad and leaves, and then she calls after him. Wait, can I get a do-over? Later on, Diego asks Andy if she wants to join him. He explains that Maddie wants to apologize but doesn't know how, so she keeps ordering pizza. He said it would be cute if he wasn't so mad at her, which, oh my god, I can't just stress how much I love their relationship. I guess that's what this entire video is, just me talking about how much I love their relationship. Maddie once again didn't say anything when he brought the pizza. Maddie explains that she wants to protect him from the horrible things her family will say to him and put him down, and she doesn't want him to hate her entire family. Ursula calls for Maddie, and she's like, "What now? What now?" And they go walk. And then it turns out there was a magical duel because Jax and Emma want to get answers about her mom his mom that Ursula knows about. Um, and Diego walks in to see the magical duel, and she says, "Proxy, help! It's a code pink." And I love this because, like, even though he's mad at her right now, he will still do anything for her. He will still protect her. And I love how they also have color codes. Like, I wish we saw that more. I wish it showed like stuff with Mia was going down in season 3. They should have like brought up the color codes. This is the first and only time it's really mentioned, but I would have loved to see more of that. But anyways. Diego rushes over to her side as his canine markings glow, and he says, "Nobody touches Maddie or else." And um, and then Andy's like, "What's going on?" And everyone's yelling about like how this started, and then Diego yells, "And Maddie called a code pink." I love him. Later on, Maddie and Diego are talking. Maddie says that Diego was amazing, and he says, "Nobody messes with my girl, chosen one or not." So sweet. And she's like, I'm still your girl. And he said, of course, me being mad at you doesn't change that. Diego says the decorations look great and the vampires will be impressed. And he says, I'm sure they'll love it since I won't be there to mess it up. And she said, it's not like that. Maddie says she could be the new leader. Diego asks if she doesn't want him to cheer her on. She says they all feel the same way as her mother about Kanais. And he said, I thought we were going to change what people thought about witches and Kanais. She says, we are, but there's so many of them and they are all horrible. She explains that it's just for one night, and he asks why it matters because he asks why it matters because he can't handle it. And she says she's trying to spare his feelings, but he's making it difficult. And he says maybe this relationship is difficult, where she responds, maybe it is. Diego leaves and Maddie cries as her friends comfort her. That scene is always so sad. Like it's like so sad. Like they realize that there's just so much water under the bridge between the two, and they're like, maybe this can't work no matter how much we love each other. But then, yeah, it's just so sad. And to see Maddie cry, like, I think Maddie doesn't show her emotions much. And I think the only other time we've actually seen her cry in the show, like actually cry, was when she found out that her mom had her magic, and Katie and Sophie lied about it, and she doesn't know who. I think it was just Katie. I don't know, but she doesn't know who to trust. And when she was confiding in Andy in that one scene, and now she's crying here. Um, and then later, Gigi and Diego talking. Gigi says she knows um something's up with them, as they didn't have their daily emoji conversation, and he says they don't do that. Gigi says that says the emojis they send each other, and he asks how she knows that, realizing that she hacked his phone. And then later on, you see Maddie and Diego stare at each other at lunch. Maddie gets up and leaves, upsetting Diego. Daniel says he's there for him. Diego realizes Gigi told people and gets mad. Later on, you see Maddie is in a robe in her bed eating ice cream. Ursula says a makeover will make it better. Maddie says she's not going to the reunion or getting out of bed, and says Sophie can rate her shoe closet collection. You could tell she's hit the bottom. Like, she's never even been this upset over a breakup with Daniel. I know we didn't see most of the relationship, but everything we know, she did not get this upset over a breakup with Daniel, but she's getting this upset over a breakup with Diego. It shows how much she loves him. And then you see Diego working, and he draws Maddie in ketchup and says she still looks so beautiful. Man, they're both so down bad. Like, this entire episode is just them being miserable without each other. Like, they are so down bad. Their urinating is so bad, and I love every second of it. Katie cleans out Maddie's room, saying there's no more reminders of Diego. Katie gets upset that Maddie tried to call Diego, but he doesn't pick up. She says, you need to forget Diego and how he makes you laugh. And then Sophie chimed in, and how he's nice to you. And they go back and forth like this. And how he puts up with your moods, and how protective he is of you, and how cute you two are together. And I love this switch up so much. I can't express how much I love the switch up, because Katie went from trying to kill Diego, like I said, I'm still not over it, to wanting Diego and Maddie together because they are good together. She was also saying stuff like ew when they kissed and stuff. Like, she was against him in season 2. Season 3 she came around, and in season 4 she's like, you need to get back with Diego, which is what she tells him here, that they need to get him back. Maddie agrees and says who cares what her mom thinks. She says he's still mad at her, so she'll need to win him back, rom-com style. Such a Maddie thing to do and say. Later on, Diego complains to Gigi about doing everything while nursing a broken heart, and Gigi agrees to take out the trash, but then stops when Maddie walks in holding a laptop over her head that's playing music. Gigi gets excited, tells them to go back, and grabs Diego. He's like, what is this? And she says, this is my apology, Diego. Would you like to be my date to the vampire reunion? And he says, no. I'd love to. I love this scene. He grins at her, and Maddie goes to him. Katie takes the laptop as they hug, and both say they're sorry. Maddie later on, Maddie shows up with Dago in hand, causing Ursula to freak out. And when someone asks what the smell is, Ursula tries to cover. He says it smells like kanai, causing everyone to laugh because most of them still think that they're extinct. Dago says maybe this was a bad idea. Ursula says she has to get him out of here, and she says if he leaves, then she leaves, because causing Dago to smile. I love how Maddie stood for Dago right here. Whereas Ursula says you can leave, and Maddie's like, oh, I guess we're staying. He puts his arm around her as she melts into his touch. Ursula is chosen to be the leader, and then Jake Novoa, Jax's dad, shows up, mad that Ursula helped keep his wife and daughter away from him. And then he threatens Maddie as Ursula runs to her. The earth shakes as Dago reveals his markings, and Jake realizes that there was a Kanai in the mix. He throws magic at him, but he brings up a block of ice as the magic bounces off the ice and turns Jake into a critter. Maddie runs to him, and so does Ursula. Everyone claps. Ursula says that's Maddie's boyfriend, as Maddie says he's her boyfriend. So now Ursula's officially on board with their relationship. Once Dago, saved the reunion, saved Maddie, Ursula's like, hey, baby, you're not so bad after all. Emma is going kind of off the deep end. Honestly, everyone's frozen, and Emma ends up giving Maddie a mustache, which once they unfroze, startled Diego. And now the Panthers are doing a fundraiser. Panther pause for a cause. I'm so glad I thought of it. And then Kitty's like, I thought Diego did. And Maddie's like, but we're a couple, so I'm allowed to take credit for his ideas. I don't even know how to respond to Maddie half the time, but that's what makes her icon, I guess. Dago was thinking about Maddie's whole family, and Dago was wishing he had a tribe. He wishes he had other kanais. Daniel suggests Dago see Mia. Daniel says, you guys are the only ones left. You guys should at least be friends. Dago goes to Maddie, suggesting they go talk to Mia, and Maddie doesn't know why he wants other kanais so badly. He says it's about being part of something bigger than himself. Maddie says he's an honorary member of the coven. Ursula gets excited to see him and calls him a hero, giving him a hug and calling him her fave little guy, and then spray air freshener around him because it's still Ursula and she still thinks he stinks. But I guess it's a good effort. I guess she finally is accepting him, which is something, I guess. I don't know. Maddie scolds her and says says she's trying to, and asks Dago if he wants a snack. Dago tells Maddie she doesn't need all this. They'll be gone in an hour because they're going to like an hour away to see Mia. Maddie says she gets cold easily, and he says it has the same temperature as Miami. Emma says she's happy to see Maddie, and everyone is surprised. Maddie said they're not friends, but not mortal enemies. Diego asks if there's magic fashion. Maddie said the continuum break was the worst because she had to pretend Daniel was her boyfriend. Diego, later on, you see Diego asked Mia about her parents. She said they were bust running away from witches, and she looked at Maddie. Mia said that maybe the witches got them all. And then Maddie says, hey, don't look at me. Proxy and I are trying to fix witch canal relations. Our love will heal all the wounds of the world. And then Diego smiles and takes her hand. Maddie tells him she's sorry, but they tried. Diego says he's not giving up and he will find them. Maddie grins and says she'll go with him as she grabs his hand and they hug. Maddie Diego asks Emma if they can smell his kanai odor, and Jax can. Emma tells them that they can use their powers to find what they're looking for. Emma says she can help and meet them after school. Maddie refuses to let Diego be their proxy because it's too dangerous to transfer powers. And later on, Maddie realizes she doesn't have powers. Daniel gives Diego a stone with a kanai marking from the Everglades. Maddie wants her powers back, and Diego backs her up, and she says, it's one thing to do this to your friend and me, but to proxy your actual friend, that's low. And Diego's like, yeah, friends don't say they'll help you and lie to them. Diego takes Emma's milkshake and gets a brain freeze, which Maddie can't fix. Diego tells Emma to go. Maddie says if she doesn't, then they will. Diego gets him and Maddie drinks during their meeting. Andy said Diego and Maddie might not meet, which upsets them. See, they're talking about like what happens if she I lost train of thought, brings back her mom, right? I hate what if episodes because they're always inaccurate. Okay, the one I can always think of off the top of my head is the one from Grey's Anatomy, okay? Where the whole thing was what if Richard raised or Richard Ellis well Richard left Adele to be with Ellis and they raised Meredith together, right? I'm sorry, but half, actually more than half, of what happened to these characters would not have happened just because Richard and Ellis decided to raise Meredith together, okay? Alex still would have been a jerk because he still would have had a rough childhood. He would not have been this happy guy. April would have still had Christian values and not be sleeping around with her best friend's boyfriend. Christina, maybe because she I don't know. Like Meredith can tone down her darkness, kind of like Christina did for Meredith. Like they balance each other out. So maybe not having Meredith could make her all whatever. Bailey, I can see because with the fact that because Richard was the one that brought Bailey up, and if Ellis had torn Richard down all these years, then um uh then he wouldn't have had anything to lift Bailey up. So Bailey still being the person she was we saw in flashbacks of her younger version, then I get Bailey. I get Christina. I will never understand Alex and April because they still would have had the exact same lives. I get why Meredith is different because this whole thing revolves around her. I don't understand why Callie and Owen are together. Like, how did that happen? I guess what I'm mostly mad about is the Alex and April thing because I'm sorry, no. And it just makes me mad. It's like this, okay? When they had their first conversation, um, in season 1, and you find out that they've actually known each other for years because they grew up in the same area, in the same town, going to the same schools. And even if Emma, wasn't the chosen one and stuff. Like if Maddie still was going to be a witch, she still was going to find out eventually. And if Diego would have still been a Kanai, he still would have found out eventually. Which means Maddie probably still would have went to Diego, wanting to meet another witch boy back then, thinking he was a witch. So their entire story would have still happened, with or without Emma. So what do you mean? I know that this is probably Annie just trying to convince them to help, but it makes me mad because so many what if episodes do this, where they get everything wrong. They change one thing and then they decide that that one thing changes literally everything, which no, it doesn't. Okay, I'm sorry, it doesn't. Like that Grey's Anatomy episode, I despise it. Why do I despise it? It's mostly because it's so inaccurate. Half of what they said was going to happen with this one event would not have happened. Especially the Alex and April part. I can't get over that. No way. Alex would not be this happy-go-lucky person because Alex would have still had a rough childhood, whether or not Richard raised Meredith. And April still would have had these Christian values and want to keep her virginity, especially not sleep with her best friend's fiance. So no, that would not change whether or not Richard decided to. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. This is something that actually irritates me. That's the only what if episode I can think of. But I know there's a lot of what if episodes I've seen on TV where it's always the same thing, and that's why I hate what if episodes. Because no, half of what they literally say, okay, this what if episode surrounds this one little change, and then they decide this one little change changes everything. Like no, I get that sometimes there's a domino effect, and yes, one choice can change things, but there's just some things that would not change. But they like to say that everything would change, and that would not happen. Okay, Alex and April would still be the same people they were when they were first introduced, whether or not Richard raised Meredith. Like I said, Christina maybe. Owen and Callie I don't get, and Bailey I do understand because I feel like in flashbacks you find out that Richard kind of revved her up from who she used to be. And um, if Ellis tore Richard down so much, then he wouldn't have been able to do that for Bailey. So fine, Bailey, I understand. Christina, maybe. Owen and Callie don't get. Alex and April is the one that really makes me mad though, because in no way would just no. So I hate what if episodes, and I hate that they're trying to say that if Emma brings back her mom, then maybe Maddie and Diego never would have met because they technically already met before Emma moved it down. And even if they didn't, I still think that the two of them would have had their entire story arc. Just Emma might not have been any part of it. Like, I still think that they still could have had most of their story happen. Just Emma's not there for any of it. Fine. So there's my rant. I can't think of any more what if episodes off the top of my head, but I do know every time I see one, they always make me so mad. The only one I can think of that was actually accurate was the one in Facts of Life. I don't remember the later seasons as much. I mostly remember the first 5 seasons because growing up, those were the only ones my mom owned. So for the longest time, those were the only ones I saw. But then when we found Facts of Life on a streaming service, we finally watched them all, and I finally saw the later seasons. So I've only seen the later seasons maybe twice. So I don't remember them very much, but I do know there was a Facts of Life episode that had to surround with what if Beverly Ann didn't show up, and I know throughout before it showed the what if part, it showed her doing little things, and then showed what happened because she wasn't there to do those little things. So that what if episode I get, because it made sense. It showed the things she did and then showed what happened because she wasn't there to do those things that were important. So that whatever episode actually makes sense. It might be the only whatever episode I've ever seen that makes sense. Every other whatever episode sucks and I hate them because they never actually make any sense. So I just had to do that little rant because it just made me mad that they're saying that maybe Maddie and Diego wouldn't have met if Maddie's mom didn't die. Like, I'm sorry, Emma's mom dying doesn't have anything to do with Diego and Maddie's story. Just a little pet peeve of mine. Maddie said she wanted a different one, smoothie, and Diego goes to get it. Maddie asks if they wanted to put their fates with a kunai, causing Diego to give her a look, and she quickly changes it to Mia. Diego puts his arm around Maddie as they try to hide Emma from Gigi. Emma says to make sure Andy really leaves, and Diego rolls his eyes. They give Andy a gift so she doesn't forget the Panthers, because now Andy's about to go off and leave. Diego said, and me, and then Maddie's like I said, the Panthers, calling him a Panther. Andy says she hopes he finds Kanais and a new girlfriend, and Maddie just rolls her eyes. Gigi catches them using magic, and Maddie wipes her memory. And Diego said, I wish she wouldn't do that all the time. And Maddie's like, oh, she'll be fine. They say that they're off to find more Kanais, showing the stone with the markings, not remembering who gave it to them because the whole Daniel thing, and now no one remembers Daniel again except for Emma, and then we find out Andy does. Because he's back with his old life in Mia. So now they don't remember Mia, they don't remember Daniel, they don't remember who gave it to them, but now they're on a quest. I actually did start fanfiction. I will get back to it at some point, but it's kind of the two of them going, it's like a spin-off with them going off trying to find more Kanais. So, if anyone wants to go on my Wattpad, I had to go on my Wattpad because I didn't remember my username. It's at author Johara Harper. So you can go in there and see the books I've written. Like I said, I have a Mako one. It's not too far in, but I haven't worked on it in a minute, but I plan to eventually. So definitely check that out. It's about the two of them going on a little journey trying to find more Kanais. But yeah, so anyways, Maddie and Diego end up leaving hand in hand, and that's how the story ends. So I've loved talking about the two of them. I've loved them. This video is probably very long, so that's gonna be fun to edit. Hoping to get out in the next couple of days. So excited for that. I've been waiting for this video for so long, and I'm finally happy that's finally filmed, and now I just have to edit and get it out. but I do love talking about Maddie and Diego, and I am planning a top 10 or top 20, top 15, not entirely sure how long the list will be yet, but of Maddie and Diego scenes from Every Which Way. So my Miego content is not done yet. Um, so if you guys have any ideas of these moments between the two of them you think should be included, let me know down below in the comments, and I would love to read your thoughts. If you have any other thoughts about my video, anything, thoughts about Miego, I would love to chat Miego with y'all because they're so underrated and I love them. So I would love to chat with y'all below in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will chat with you guys next time.